All right, so welcome. This is the last part 4, I believe, technically just the third stream of the Final Fantasy Sealed and Draft set review. So we are going through individual cards today. First, I will talk about the general archetypes in a color and the general pick order for each of those archetypes. Then we will review each card by card. And we will be using the Scuffle review system. So that is my personal review system. I give everything an average grade. That is a number from 1 to 10. A 1 is a card you should never play. A 2 is a card you should do your best not to play. A 3 is a replaceable card. 4s are solid. Your deck will often be mostly 4s, and that's fine. 5 is a card that is strong. It pulls you into that deck. You're happy to play it. 6 is a card you will always play in a given color or deck. So if you think it's weird that a card is a 6, you'll always play it if you're green, if it's a green 6. A 7 is a pull into that deck, meaning that if you get past those cards, you are going to move your way into that. If you have a bunch of 7s in your sealed pool, then you are likely playing that color. An 8 is a card you'll do extra work to play, whether that's a splash or changing your archetype a little bit, or maybe even playing worse cards to enable that card. A 9 is a card you're this color now. If you open a 9, if you open an Oko Thief of Crowns, you're blue-green now. If you open a Gruff Triplets, you're green now. If you open an Rennie in Tarkir Dragonstorm, you're teamer now. And a 10 is a card you'll always play or always pick. It will make your deck, period. They're very rare. I didn't give any real 10s this set. There is a card with Meld. My system is designed to help you draft your way according to your style more. If you've never drafted before, if you're new to the set, if you have never seen the set before, you can take a card based just on the average, but I also give everything a floor grade. That is the worst a card will be, to be a ceiling grade. That is the best a card will be, and then an amount of effort required to bridge that gap. So that effort includes sideboarding, diminishing returns, synergy, combination. In a high synergy set like Final Fantasy, that effort grade is more often going to reference the number of archetypes it works with or the difficulty of acquiring the cards it needs. So lots of cards with high effort in Final Fantasy are because they work with specific rares or a specific set of rares, or they counter a specific archetype. This is a fairly high power set, and a lot of the cards are going to look really good. Like, I think nearly all the cards look really good, but they have a place where they'll be best or where or a deck they'll work the best in. So we're starting with green because I think green gives us a pretty nice framework for working with both red and black, especially in the more difficult bits. So I'll go over the archetypes a little bit first. So blue-green, the archetype is ramp, but it's Towns ramp, hometown ramp. So blue has a lot of really good cards that work with lands that have the subtype towns. Green has a lot of ways to go get towns, although they don't have a lot of things that pay you off for having towns, other than the ability to search them up. Your pick order needs to generally be the ramp spells first. If you know you're blue-green, you need to take your ramp first just because they're a little rare and you're going to be fighting with other people for the ramp spells. Then you need your interaction. The blue and green interaction is pretty specific. So like the green interaction, you mostly need to have creatures in play already. The blue interaction mostly stops specific types of threats. So you need your counter spells and your bounce spells and your removal spells sooner than you would in other colors. Then you need your payoffs. Those are the big things that you're ramping into. And I don't want to say creatures, like creatures are the most obvious one. You will see creatures most often as the top end that win you the game, but there's others. There's a blue theme of high mana value non-creature spells. There's lots of good things to ramp into, lots of good payoffs. And then finally, you need flyers and reach, because one of the things that I found out, especially in early access, is that you'll get to 6, 7, 8 mana. You'll play a huge thing, and your opponent, you'll be at like, even if you're at 8 life, your opponent still gets to put an equipment on an evasive threat and bash you to death. So make sure you have those blockers early to keep yourself from dying. Incidentally, one of the weaknesses of blue-green is the black-red ping deck, just because that deck can kill you so easily without actually attacking. And blocking is how you interact best. Figure out, as you draft, try and figure out how you're using your lands and what you're ramping into. So there are some really good rare towns, like your ramp can also be your payoffs, but they're rares. So you need to figure out what your lands are, what your payoffs are. Blue has a lot of they have two different they have a draw 3 and a draw 4 spell that's expensive but has a reduced cost for lands. There's also, or for towns, there's also a town that can win the game. It flips into a vehicle that draws cards. Is really good. That one card, that's a really good thing to use your lands for. You search for it and you ramp into it. Figuring out where your card advantage is. Keyword big is a legitimate source of card advantage. Bombs, creatures that generate value, are also legitimate source of card advantage. But you do need card advantage with this archetype. And there's some big spells. There's a draw 4 and a draw 3. And you you can run lots of cheap spells with all the card draw in that deck. There's also, this is the best archetype for splashing. Your splash just kind of happens. So if the blue half of this, like the blue town payoffs, are good enough that I'll take off color blue towns. So if I'm in a situation where I know I'm green blue already, but I've taken 2 of the blue red towns because I know I need towns, suddenly it's pretty easy to splash red. And I don't have to decide to splash red until I open those red cards that I want to splash. Sourcing guide, that's great. It's really fun. Blue green towns is also something you'll see a lot in Seal because it's the splashiest deck. All right, up next is green white sagas. So it's really a go wide deck. The good sagas tend to generate value from having multiple bodies, and there's a lot of great payoffs. There's a white saga, it's a 3-mana 3/3, pumps your other creatures. The best anthems are also sagas in this format. You want your sagas first. You have to pick your sagas pretty high. Most of the sagas are good enough that you'll be fighting with other people for them. Like the white 3-mana saga, maybe other white decks won't want, but all the green sagas, other green decks want. All of the splashable sagas, other decks want. So sagas first, then support, with the exception of Garnet. You can take Garnet before your sagas. Then your interaction. There are a lot of good interaction sagas, but the green white ones aren't there. Like the blue and black sagas tend to deal with creatures, even one of the red sagas, but the green and white sagas are just bodies. So you need your interaction next, and then you need your non-saga anthems. You don't need a lot of them, but you need a few. You need a way to make sure that once you put 6 creatures into play, give them all +1/+0 and trample, you can get lethal from there. And there's some good anthems in the set. Figure out what the point of your engine is. Is the point of your engine to generate bodies or to generate power? You can also generate value. The rare sagas are really good for generating value. But like Garnet pulls lore counters off sagas, lets you reuse chapters. What are you getting from reusing the chapters besides just keeping them in play? And when knowing your key turn is related to those sagas staying in play. So like all of the sagas are finite. They are all only in play for 2, 3, 4 turns. They can block 3 times and attack twice. If a saga has 3 chapters, then it dies after chapter 3. So you got to make sure you're timing your sagas. The sagas deck is surprisingly difficult to play because you need to predict what your opponent's doing and play around the different ways your opponent can interact it. If your opponent's stunning your sagas, they're going away on their own. And then lastly, it's important to enable your attack. So the anthems are helpful for that, to giving you a big key turn, but 1/+1/+1 counter enables attack. Garnet doesn't give you anything if she doesn't attack. And she does attack as a 3/3 if you pull 1 counter off of a saga, but you need to give your creatures extra power either with equipment or with combat tricks if you need to attack to make it happen. Yes, pulling counters off of a saga does give you an extra turn with that saga, and that's pretty important. It also lets you re-trigger specific abilities. That's why Garnet is so good. There's only 2 ways at uncommon to re-trigger the sagas. Garnet is one of them, and then the other one is a green uncommon, which we'll talk about a little later. So yes, pulling lore counters off of your sagas is almost always a good thing. Not 100% of the time, but usually. You want to try and line up your turns. Like timing matters a lot, tempo matters a lot. Ooh. All right, Gruul, Landfall, Stompy. So you need your ramp spells first. Gladiolus does count as a ramp spell in my book. Then you need your removal, and then your blockers, and then your fatties. So compared to blue-green, you really need a lot more large creatures and flexibility of spells. You have an inherent flexibility in blue-green with cards like Ignis. Like Ignis is a great mana sink in the late game. Equipment are great mana sinks in the late game. Red green doesn't have as many luxuries. They do have better flexible spells available. Like there's we'll talk about those. There's some X spells and some scaling spells. Gladiolus is a really good one. Figure out why you need lands. Casting giant things is a legitimate reason to need lands, but so are landfall triggers. All chocobos, not all chocobos, most chocobos have landfall get +1, but so putting 2 or 3 extra lands into play in any turn is very powerful. So figure out why you need lands, and landfall triggers is a good answer to why you need lands. There's a few great X spells. Figure out what your splash is. This is a great color combination for splashing for a lot of the same reasons blue-green is, but you are a little more interested in just hitting. So your splashes should be a little more specific. Just power is not as good of a reason. And figure out how you're surviving to these turns. Compared to blue-green, your creatures are better attackers. Your 2, 3, and 4 drops are much better attackers than blues are. So putting pressure on is a legitimate form of survival. So is just removal. The scaling removal spells red has access to are very strong. Yeah, picking up any land for this guy is really, like, this is a cool card, Wingspear, because it's 6 mana 6/6 that gives another creature +2/+2 and trample when it comes down, but it also grabs, like, some of the towns it can get are really good. Like, this is 6 mana for 8 power. You get 8 power, draw a card. This is very good. This is a great card. It is expensive, but you want to try and get the game to where you can have this. All right, and then finally, green-black Grave. Grind is more aggro. We'll call it Grave for now. I'll come up with a better name later. So you need this is a very powerful archetype, but you need a lot of uncommons for it to work. The commons tend to be more enablers, which is why you need your payoffs first. Your cards that care about having cards in the graveyard are mostly uncommon and rare, and you got to pick them pretty high. Then you need your self-mill. There's a lot of great self-mill at common, so you can take it a little bit later. And then you need your permanent substitutes. So Cloud of Darkness, you know, these are actually more important. We're moving these to the top. That's something in my notes. I have the payoffs first. So like, and that's because a lot of the permanent substitutes are payoffs. So like, this Cloud of Darkness is better in your deck than any of the black removal spells. In black green, this is better. This is a higher priority than any of the black removal spells or the green removal spells because it's a permanent. Like, you need to maximize the number of permanents and creatures because so many of the X is the number of permanent cards in your graveyard. You need to make sure that when you're milling 4 cards, most of those cards are feeding your Cloud of Darkness. There's no Tormod's Crypt. There's nothing that removes your whole graveyard from the game. There's repeatable effects, but they're more specific. So like Ignis is a good example. Ignis hits 1 per card at a time. This Cloud of Darkness kills a thing, and Wingspear, I think it's actually better for being a legend because when you play the second one, you get to put the first one into the graveyard. And being in the graveyard for green-black is almost as good as blinking it. Like, figure out how. So the permanent substitutes are really important. This Cloud of Darkness is both a permanent and a removal spell, and is where the value in green-black comes from. So figure out how you're using your graveyard. You can use your graveyard as a toolbox. You can mill yourself a lot and then use your raised dead effects to get exactly what you need at any given point of the game. Or you can just mill the flashback spells and then use them for value as you play a fair game otherwise. You can use them as a way to dig for specific cards. And that feeds into what you are recurring. You can be recurring small creatures that deal damage. You can be recurring large creatures that win the game. You can be recurring these toolboxy creatures that are exactly what you need. Anything in your green-black deck that isn't a permanent has to be pretty great. Try and limit yourself a bit. This is a set where you absolutely need removal, but you don't need too much removal. Like, so Neon Dynasty, what I just fake draft, like what I just drafted for fun, that was like a 2 to 3 removal spell set, or a 2 removal, lots of substitute sets. And then OTJ, that was like a 7 or 8 removal spell set. You wanted all the removal you could get. This is somewhere in between. You want like 5, 6 removal spells, but these cards that are removal plus are really valuable. All right, onto the cards. More than Tarkir, Wingspear. You need more. Great question. You need more removal spells in this set than you did in Tarkir. So Tarkir was. Let's talk about this. Then we'll get onto the cards. How much removal do you need in a set? We had a removal spell. We had a chat here, but last time. The number of removal spells you need in any given set is always going to be a function. Yeah, that's true for LCI. It's always going to be a function of how bad a removal spell feels. Using a removal spell on Cloud of Darkness feels awful because they can recur it, and they've already killed a thing when this came into play. Using a removal spell on Garnet feels great, but only if you do it before they attacked. Because if they attack once, they probably pulled some value out of Garnet. I think Tarkir Dragonstorm was a very low removal format. Removal had a different function than usual. So in Tarkir, you wanted to run 0 removal spells. You didn't want to have any removal, ideally, because every single card your opponent played was going to replace itself. Hold up, let's go back and check it out. So if we go back to Tarkir real quick, Dragonstorm set review. Intro and multi. So if we go back to Tarkir really quick, we can check and see. The real reason you didn't want much removal in that set is that 95 of 191 cards. So there were 191 commons and uncommons. 95 of them were worth 2 cards. 95 of them replaced themselves, which means all of those, the rest of those cards, all of these removal spells that just killed the thing, like if you never wanted to use a removal spell on your opponent's Sib-Sig Appraiser, which meant that inherently you would rather on turn 3 play a blocker, play a 3/3. Yes, but you needed removal because their opponent's bombs were so good. If your opponent had an Areni that was uncontested, you would lose. So you need removal spells in this format because some of the time you would rather play a threat on turn 3, and some of the time you would rather hit your opponent's Garnet on turn 3. So the bombs in this set do tend to need to stick around. Not a lot of them leave something behind, but they do tend to generate value as they go. So it's a medium removal set. Tarkir was a low removal set, and Tarkir you needed the removal both because they were ramping into bombs. So like there were basically 3 decks in Tarkir. The over-the-top control decks, you had to be able to kill your opponent's Meringue River Regent, even though it felt awful to spend a removal spell on that. And then the low-to-the-ground decks, you had to be able to kill your opponent's Goblin tokens or Shock Troopers, because they would kill you dead. And then finally, there were the medium decks, and you never wanted removal against your opponent's mid-range Sultai or Jeskai decks. Like, you would always rather have a blocker. And to be clear, removal is not bad, right? It's not removal against nothing. It's removal versus something like Cloud of Darkness. Hey J1, good to see ya. Thanks for the sub. I appreciate you, buddy. Sorry we don't have the notifications on, but I'm still very grateful and I still love you for it. And I'm only answering questions between slides. Yeah, but Abzan had so many things that you didn't want to kill also. Right. So really, that's a great example, Wingspear. So if we look at like the Host of the Hereafter, the 4-mana 2/2 that when it died, it puts it counted somewhere else. You never wanted to kill that. But then its other signpost common, the 3 and a 3/2 that made more counters come in on everything, you had to kill that immediately or you were going to lose the game. So that's why it wasn't a 0 removal set, it was a low removal set. In Neon Dynasty, I'm happy with lots of decks. I'm happy to have 0 removal spells. And in this set, it's medium. You want 4 to 6 removal spells based a little on what your bodies are. Speaking of which, let's get started. Hang tight, J1. That's a great question. We're going to answer it as we go through green. So J1 said, speaking of questions between slides, he's doing a pre-release tomorrow. What are the 3 best cards that you should be looking out for? One of them is here, and I will talk about it when we get to. No, Wingspear. So the 4/2 trample had to die, and then you had to kill the whatever the trample counter goes on. That's a loss. If you have to spend a removal spell on the 4/2 and then a second removal spell on whatever they put the counter on, you're losing because you just spent 2 spells on that, and you probably spent 1 spell on a Sib Sig Appraiser that your opponent already drew a card on. So what you would rather have in that situation is a 5/5 a turn sooner because you're ramping, or a 2/2 with first strike. Like, in terms of pick order, that's why removal was a bad pick. Because, like, you would much rather trade your Sib Sig Appraiser for that 4/2 and then take the 3 damage. Does that make sense? Like, the trap, that's the trap. That's why we do these set reviews. Because if you were spending 2 removal spells on your opponent's 3 mana common, you were losing that game. And this one is similar, but not as extreme. All right. So our first green card is Airship Crash. This is a card we see a lot, like some amount of mana, destroy an artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. And usually that's pretty narrow and it's going to be not quite strong enough. The cycling makes this great in addition to the sheer number of artifacts. So there's three factors that make this a full grade higher than it would be in other sets. Part of it is that flyers are very rare. There's only 16 flyers in the set. That's the lowest out of any set since, like, a Mirage, right? It's the lowest of any set since most of you have been alive. That makes flyers really important, and it makes it difficult for you to block your opponent's flyers with your flyers or reach creatures. There are a lot of good reach creatures. Second, there's a saga theme and an artifact theme. So white, blue, black all care about artifacts. White, green, red all care about enchantments. Wait, red cares about both. Like, this card is, like, this is a set where I would happily play Broken Wings, because while not everything has a target, everything that does have a target, you really have to kill. And the cycling is huge. Just being able to cycle this when your opponent doesn't have a target is huge. Like, I'm actually going to go ahead and raise the floor on this, because it's so rare that this feels awful. One thing that I found out during early access is that when your opponent plays a job select equipment, a lot of them, you feel awful playing removal on that creature because you're just killing a 1/1 and it leaves the equipment behind and kills it later. Airship Crash lets you kill the equipment, which means that you now just have a 1/1 to deal with, which you can block. It's already attacking. It's never a dead card, and Broken Wings would very rarely be a dead card in this set. Broken Wings would rarely be a dead card. It would still be something I'd be happy to play at a 4. The cycling keeps it from ever being a dead card. And while it's difficult to find the time, it's not impossible. This is not a blazingly fast format. It's a format where you have to play and keep things on board, but you will have time to cycle this. Balaam T-Rexar. So out of all of the land cyclers, this one is the best by a mile. 6 mana, 6/6 trample is almost good enough in a lot of sets. The fact that it gains life, so in Magic, in modern Magic, it feels really bad to pay 6 mana into a spell and then your opponent kills it and leaves nothing behind. It also feels really bad to pay 6 mana into a spell when your opponent is an aggro deck and then they attack around it. So, like, if I play a 6 mana 6/6 vanilla and my opponent has 3 3/3s in play, often we are at the point of the game where my opponent is willing to sacrifice a 3/3 to hit me for 6 damage and kill me. That's a lot more difficult to do through this 3 life. This card's very good. In addition to just like a 6 mana 6/6 gain 3 life, no other text is something I would play in this format. The trample means that your opponent doesn't get a chump block with all the heroes they're leaving behind, or even just with a death touch creature. And then the 4 cycling means that it's a great, like, this is a great card to reanimate. This is a great card in your green-black deck. It's a great card in your Towns deck. It just kind of goes everywhere. Green-white is the only place where I'm not excited to play this. But I'm excited to play this in green-black. I'm excited to play this in green-red. I'm excited to play this in green-blue. And then in green-white, it's a 4. It's still fine. You just have better options in green-white. Yes, Honey Mammoth was an old 6 mana 6/6 gain 4 life. Like, it's 1 less life. For forest cycling and trample is very worth it. They also made, like, most of those land cyclers are pretty bad in this set, except the Balaam T-Rexar is great. Great card. Bard's Bow. I came back to this one a few times. Mostly, it's the reach. Like, a 3-mana 3/3 reach in this set is just good. You will play a 3-mana 3/3 reach in most decks. Being an equipment is relevant, being an artifact is relevant, making 2 rectangles is relevant. You won't usually re-equip this. Like, when you re-equip this, things are desperate. Because you don't re-equip this because it's because you need to block with it. You re-equip this to attack, and it's rare you'll be able to re-equip this with another spell. However, there are cheaty equipments there are cheaty equipment costs in this format. There is a white 4-drop that lets you equip for 1. There is a red rare that lets you equip for free. And there are things that you're like, all right, green black is happy to play this because it's a 3-mana 3/3 with reach that you then sacrifice the equipment. The artifact is a valuable thing just because you can sacrifice it to, it's not Vicious Offering. It's Vicious Offering, but -6/-6. There are a lot of things that you want to be able to sacrifice it for. Green white has ways to cheat on the equipment costs. Green blue might occasionally have 6 mana lying around. So I have this as a 5 in green black. Also, green black's hurting for flying blockers. 5 in green black, 4 in green white and green blue, and 3 in green red unless you have the rares. Medium difficulty. Blitzball Shot. So there are better ways to give things trample in this set, but you kind of want them, and this isn't a bad rate. It's just kind of replaceable. Like, there are better tricks available in green, but this is still a good trick that you shouldn't be upset to play. This is a lot of stats. Like, if you are an aggressor, if you are hitting hard, go ahead and grab it. You just don't have room for it in a lot of the decks. Like, green white will rarely have room for the Blitzball Shot, and green black doesn't want to be bogging, like, they want permanence. Green blue, most of the things you're ramping into already have trample, but like, you're not guaranteed for any of those things, so don't be upset if you have to play this card. You just won't be picking it that high. Oh, there is a black creature that is a 5/3. It's a black saga. The black creature says when it deals damage to an opponent this turn, they lose the game. +3/+3 and trample enables that. Love that. Oh, so Wingspear says tricks seem important in this set. Not sure why. I'm going to tell you exactly why. There's 2 reasons that tricks are better than usual. Well, 3. There's 3 reasons tricks are better than usual. One is that there's fewer of them. That's not really what makes them better. It just makes them feel better. But if we go to look at our stats, so the 2 meta reasons tricks are better than usual is, first off, the creature toughnesses and powers are very uniform. So like, if you look at these, the 1, 2, 3, and 4 toughness creatures are all pretty close in number. Like, there's 5 fewer 4 toughness creatures than 2 toughness creatures, but there's 3, like, that means that 1 power and toughness makes a creature significantly better. If I put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, it goes from trading with 68% of the creatures in this set to 88% of the creatures. If I give my 1-drop +3/+3, it goes from trading with 19% of the creatures in the set to 88% of the creatures in the set. So that is number 1 reason that tricks are better. The second reason is that keyword abilities are rare, with the exception of trample. So there's only 1 creature with first strike. There's only 1 creature with double strike. There's only a couple lifelingers. There's only 16 flyers. And when that happens, tricks that grant keyword abilities get better. So Blitzball Shot is uniquely a little worse just because trample is a little worse, but like the first strike trick we're going to look at in red is great because first strike is rare. It's a matter of availability. Great question, Wingspear. So Wingspear's question translated was, why are tricks more important in this set? Cactuar. This is a weird one. Like, this gets, so we see all the time, put this creature back in your hand on end step. The fact that it's around for the turn means that it does block the turn it comes down, but it doesn't attack. It attacks the next turn, and then it's not in play as a blocker for a turn. So you can use this as a blocker if you time it right. You can use this as an attacker if you time it right. And 3/3 is just huge for 1 mana, so it lets you double spell pretty often. Great flavor, Lion. Oh, quick shout out. Thank you to Lion. I couldn't do this without his data. The fact that I get to say things like, there's not a lot of creatures with menace in this set is because of Lion. So thank you, buddy. So yeah, this is a cool card. It always runs away in the game when you see it. Eventually, after a turn or two. I don't remember how many. So what you need to figure out when you're playing with Cactuar is what your creature effort is. So like, how much work are you putting into each of your permanents? So like, it's always great on turn 1 and it's fine in the early game because you can just leave it. It's a great blocker half the time. It's a great attacker half the time, and it's not in play the other half. If you're a deck that is assembling cards to put a Bard's Bow on a random creature, or ramping and equipping, or even putting counters on a creature, then Cactuar is not going to be what you want. But all of those things that I just said are extra work. So it's a good card when you're not assembling other specific synergies. When you are being specific with how your deck works, it's like this is a card with raw power in a high synergy set, and it doesn't synergize well with any of the archetypes. It's just good, and being just good means that you have to watch out as you draft. Like you can be a synergistic aggro deck when this card is great, or you can be a deck that has to take turns off because of sagas, and you can use this to fill in your blockers. I am assuming these cards are hard to play with. That's why I like this set so much. This is a high skill gameplay set. Like, I'd say there's as much gameplay skill required as deck building skill. And so I'm assuming that I have been having some faith in you. I'm optimistic that all of you will be able to do this well. I feel off center and not sure exactly why. Maybe this needs to be a little bit bigger. Yes, so cool card. But if you find yourself in a, like, if you decide, like, this is not an archetypal rating. The 5 with a ceiling of 5, that is not rated for any specific archetype. It is all going to be about how much the rest of your cards synergize and how much you need this attacker or blocker. You'll find it crowded out of your deck often because of how many other good cards you have. But if you have to include it, it's gonna be fine. Like, really cool design. Like, cool design, cool card, cool for this set. This is one of the, I think this is the only card in this set with no bonus text, right? Like, has no relevant creature types. It has, I mean, it's a permanent, but it doesn't trigger things. Really cool. Yeah, you can sack him later. That's true, Wingspear. He's a permanent to sack, but like, honestly, I'd rather have him be in play. All right, up next, Chocobo Kick. This one's actually getting a revisit because being a sorcery speed bite, sorcery speed bites do tend to be a little bit weak, but picking up a land is a bonus for a lot of the decks. So this is a 4 if you don't care about landfall, and this is a 6 if you do care about landfall, and it's usually going to be a 5 somewhere in between. The fact that you can double it, this is a weird one. So like, bites in general, they scale into the late game because your creatures are good, and then we have seen the bites that are good early overperform. The bites that are good with your small creatures overperform. And Chocobo Kick is great with a 2-mana creature because, like, your 2-mana 2/2 deals 4 damage, but you're down a land drop, so it doesn't really deal 4 damage as often as you need it to. Yeah, this is a weird one. I'm giving it a revisit. It's a good removal spell. It's a great removal spell in any landfall deck. Like, having a kicker, like, it's got kicker because you kick. It's Chocobo, it's kicking. If you have landfall triggers, it's really good. Otherwise, it's a fine removal spell. Like, one of the things you need to keep an eye on in this set is you'll have to decide between 2 different removal spells a lot. So like a green-white deck, for instance, I had to make a decision between Chocobo Kick and White Aura Sight. And that just comes down to is, do I need landfall triggers more, or do I need artifacts more? And the bonus text on your cards is really important when making these decisions. Up next, Chocobo Racetrack. Let's do a quick breakdown of this. At 5 mana, it does nothing. On turn 6, you got to treat it like it's 6 mana because you play it before your land drop, and then you play your land, you make a 2/2. It's a 6 mana 2/2. It's not great. If you play it for 5 mana and then get 2 landfall triggers, are you happy paying 5 mana for 2 2/2s over 2 turns, and with the potential of whiffing on the second 2/2? When are you happy playing this card? I think I'm happy at 3 2/2s. I think it's a 7 at 5 2/2s because you don't get them all in one turn. This is a full build around. You can't put this into your green deck. You need to be a green deck that is putting extra lands into play a lot. And there's not a lot of ways to do that, but they exist. So like, if you have 3 Chocobo kicks, you get to play the Chocobo racetrack. If you don't, you don't. And like, there's lots of cool bonus enablers like Pew Pew UFO, our red-green signpost uncommon, Gladiolus, even some of the explosive vegetation, rampant growth style effects. But you need a lot of them. Yeah, be really careful with this one. Like, the reason the rating is so low is even if you're a deck that wants this card, you never want to have to take it, right? Like, this will be a last pick or a second to last pick. Right. So like, you don't, even if you want this card, you don't take it high because you're going to have to choose between this card and then something that blocks early, or this card and an explosive vegetation and a ramp spell. I haven't had the hiccups for 10 years. I have them right now. So this is a build around that is no, we don't need a trick. This is just gonna be a hiccup review. I mean, hiccups don't exist. It's all in our heads. All right, so build around, low grade. You can still play it, but make sure you get your lands and landfall enablers first. Clash of the Icons. What a cool card. 1 mana fight spell, bad. 1 mana, pull a lore counter from a saga. Really good in the right deck, but you need the rare sagas or the good sagas. And putting a lore counter on a saga, that's an awesome bonus. So if you get to fight a creature and pull a lore counter off and put it back on at the same time, it's so good. It is worth noting with a saga creature, a creature dying because its damage is on it, because it has damage on it, is a state-based effect. And Magic as a game does not check your state-based effects until the spell finishes resolving. So if I have, we need a saga we've already looked at. Like Fat Chocobo. We'll talk about Fat Chocobo very soon. If I fight my opponent's 4/4 with my 4/4, I still get the saga abilities. The way it'll work is the lore counter comes off and goes back on. The fight will happen, my creature takes lethal damage, and then it'll die to state-based effects. And then all the lore triggers happen. Well, the 1 lore trigger happens. Really cool card, fun to play with. You're not happy playing this if you don't have sagas. If you have rare sagas, this is a 7. If you have normal sagas, this is a 5. So most of the common sagas don't have a saga ability you're really happy to re-trigger, so you just are going to buy time for it. The really rare sagas, there's some busted saga abilities that you're ecstatic to use again. Yeah, this is a great card for the saga deck, and I would probably avoid it if I don't have any sagas. If I don't have any sagas, I'd almost always rather have like a Chocobo kick. Right, I don't want to skip to Fat Chocobo. We'll wait until we talk about Fat Chocobo. But you do still get the saga ability if your creature dies in the fight. That's the point. It'll just happen after the creature dies. All right, Colosseum Behemoth. This is one of the better things to be ramping into. If you're just cramming this into your green deck, it's a 5. If you're a dedicated ramp deck, if you get this ahead of schedule, it's so strong. The fact is that disenchants are a rarity in this set. There's 1 red card that exiles an artifact, and then there is the airship crash, and then there's this guy. There's no like reclamation stage or thrashing Brondadon. Isaiah, thank you so much. I had so much fun at early access, and I'm having a really good evening. But the Behemoth, will usually have targets that you want to hit, and when it doesn't, it's a 7/7 trample that replaces itself. No, there's no white disenchant. There is a white exile any non-land permanent, but yeah, all of the disenchants are green and there's a shatter in red. So yeah, 7 mana, 7/7, draw a card. Like 7 is expensive, so it's only a 5, even though it replaces itself. But if you are doing any amount of ramping or acceleration to this behemoth, it's a 7. It's very good. You get to reanimate it. This should probably be a little higher. But the 7-drop, there's competition for 7-drops. There's competition for what to do with your mana. Like if you're ramping a lot, keep the ceiling, keep like it's a 7. But it's a little like in any other set, this would be a higher rating. There's just actually great things to do with a lot of mana. Okay, sorry about that. Isaiah, how you doing? Thanks for stopping by. We're doing the set review, so I'm trying to say hello between slides, but I'm bad at it. It was really good though. I'm not like an inherent Final Fantasy fan, and I'm not a Universes Beyond fan at all. But this set was great, and I had a lot of fun playing it. Yeah, so it's a high effort card just because of the ramp aspect. But yes, it's just because of mana cost. It's just trying to, the effort value, like it is a high effort, but it's got a really high floor too. Right, exactly. Thank you, Rantask. When they tap out for this, it's a problem, but not the biggest problem. Like there's just so many good things to do with 7 mana that I gave it a lower average, even though it's got a high floor. It will almost always play at that high floor, but it's got a lower average because of the competition at 7 mana. Up next, Commune with Beavers. So this is a cool card. It'll usually replace itself. It's very hard to whiff, but honestly, you don't actually have spare mana as often as I would like. Like you have spare mana, but it's not guaranteed spare mana. We've seen like in some sets, Opt, scry 1, draw a card, is always going to be good just because you will always have a spare blue mana or a time to cast it. In this set, you will often have spare mana, but not always. However, this is a great off archetype bridge. Like if you're playing with mostly black-red cards, like Jund Black Wizards, this is a good card for that. Like if you are running, green is so good at splashing that you will find yourself with these Spells Matters cards even with green as one of your base colors. And this is a very good off archetype bridge. It's a good bridge. But if that's a rare enough situation that I'm not going to bother. Like these cards are inherently better when you've got more bombs to dig for, or are in 3 colors. But I wouldn't play this in most of the green 2-color archetypes unless like I'm very red wizards or black wizards with a little bit of green, which can happen. The individual colors are strong enough that can happen. So Isaiah, I really feel like they tweaked some cards. So Isaiah says there's some Vow vibes in the level of bombs. It's not quite as egregious. They did a good job. So let's talk about the bombs a little bit Now's a good time because of the next few cards. The bombs in this set are bomby, but they all require time or a condition. And that's not to say when your opponent plays the right bomb, when your opponent plays the Yuna, you immediately lose to that Yuna, but it's work. They have to build around it to some extent. And Yuna is a good example of like, you get a shot to kill it. Like that's not to say Yuna's not a bomb, but it's not like an Areni. Like when Areni comes down, you lose the game, or Dragonback Assault comes down, you lose the game. You have no time to deal with it. This set, the bombs you have time to deal with, and it doesn't feel great. So like it's a 4 mana 3/3 green rare. When it comes into play, you get a land, like it replaces itself, and then it puts counters on things. Like if it didn't have the get a land, removal would be a lot better in this set, but you still need removal to kill it. It just means that you have to be conscious of what those removal spells are. The rares in this set I think are pretty comparable to OTJ, just because, so if your opponent plays an 8 mana rare, they win the game. That's just how it is. The games will usually end because a 7 or 8 mana rare has ended the game. The 8 mana bombs all end the game. Like there's a saga that destroys 2 permanents, draws 4 cards. There's a saga that makes 12 2/2s and then makes them all indestructible. Like, yeah, those are a problem. This set doesn't have more rares than OTJ. It does have less removal. Yeah, the 8s, but like I think the difference between this and Vow is the Vow, like Vow had like 6 drops in reanimation. This one, it's work. It's still, they'll still end the game. The game ends it, but you have a better idea of when the game ends. Yeah. Speaking of 8s, that should be dumb. This card is really cool. Immune is not as good as it should be. All immune really does is make it harder for your opponent's Death Toucher to kill it. But this is a this card's still bad at 7 mana, right? So this is a 9 mana 8/8. It costs less for each permanent. If you pay 7 mana, you're still not happy. At 5 mana, you're happy. So like this is a dedicated self-mill payoff. This is a green-black mill payoff, but you can make it work in other colors. Like blue-green has enough looters that it still works. And you can even make it work with just enough like artifacts like instant ramen, things that you put in the graveyard on their own. But it is work. Like this is a card you have to put work in to build around. It's a 3 because a 9 mana 8/8 is like a 3. But this is a really cool card. I like it. It's just work. Be prepared to put in the work if you want it to be at that ceiling of a 6. And it dies to removal. So like even a 2 mana 8/8 is great, but dies to removal. Yeah, I do not recall this card. Does anybody remember this in Final Fantasy VII? I played that game and I don't remember this. Maybe it was like a secret unlock. Galoof's Final Act. This one's getting a revisit from me. This is a really cool combat trick, if not very good. So this is a little like fake your own death, right? But you don't get the ETBs. So I do remember that. I remember. Okay, I did fight that boss 20 years ago. Oh my god. All right, Galoof's Final Act. So you give a creature +1/+0, and then if that creature doesn't die, it's a disaster. So yeah, Isaiah, this is a weak card, but not because it's not a weak card because it's always going to be weak. It's a weak card because it's incredibly dangerous. This is such a high danger factor. Like I had somebody play this against me, and then I used the Vicious Offering and sacked the creature they played it against to kill a different creature, and they just lost. They just got 2-for-1s. It's really a lot. So what I think you need other cards to make this card work, because you need to adjust for your fail cases. Like if you have, there's a black Viscerus here. Like if you play this on your creature and then your opponent, like it has the same risks as other combat tricks, in addition to the fact that your opponent can pull out of combat. But you'll have situations where you get to pair it up and then power up a giant creature. So like we talk a lot about how a little bit of extra power and toughness makes a huge difference in this set. And you'll have situations where you get to put 7+1/+1 counters on something because you're training with a Death Toucher. But that's work to set up. So this card is only a 5 when you put in the work, and you have to do that work both in how you draft and in your gameplay. But like you can make it good, just it's not free. It's usually going to play like a 3, which is a fine combat trick, which is like a fake your own death. It's going to play like a 3 because that's what I would give a card that lets a creature trade up some amount of the time, but not very often, and salvage itself. But like it doesn't bring the creature itself back. It puts an aura on another creature, which then dies to 1 removal spell. So it's a high risk trade up card. Gigantode. So like this is a solid body. It's not a bad card. It's worse than fake your own death unless you're putting it on a better creature, which can happen. There's medium high power low defense creatures, Wing Spear. Good. So there's not a lot of 4/2s. There's a lot of like 2/1s and 3/1s with good abilities. The high power low toughness creatures are weird. There's like a 3 mana 4/1 equipment. It's a good question though. That's something that we might want to look at in the future, Lion, is power deltas. But it's not going to be useful for every set. I don't even think that it's useful for this set, because there's no first strike or anything. All right, sorry. Gigantode. This is a really good card in the ramp decks. I think it's a 5. I think it's a 5 in blue-green in the ramp decks, and red-green because they've got the red-green in the If you have 2 Gladiolus, this card is good on its own, but it's mostly a vanilla 4/4 and a high synergy set. So it's solid, but it's just solid. Like, you're gonna play this, you're not gonna be upset when you play it, but you're not gonna pick it very high because you want your synergistic 4-drops most of the time, even in green. It's really, like, once you have 2 Gladiolus, I'll play this every time. It is quite good, Isaiah, but specifically, Gladiolus is amazing, but the Gigantode is a good card in the sea of good cards. So, like, happy to play it, especially if I can ramp. If I've got, there's specific cards that it works really well with, and a 4-mana 4/4 is just fine. Like, a 4/4 is a good card in this format. I love it with the 3-mana instant rampant growth that puts a counter on something. Like, I got a 3-for-1 someone with that because I attacked with a Gigantode and a creature, put a counter on the creature, grew the Gigantode because I got to 7 mana. But 7 mana is not something that you're guaranteed to do, especially because not all of them. Like, okay, you are guaranteed to get to 7 mana in the decks that want 7 mana. You are not guaranteed to get to 7 lands. So yeah, I gave it a 4, floor of a 3, ceiling of a 5, and it's good. Like, it's not a bad card, but it's not an exciting card either. Yes, so Lion, I was more thinking about how the power delta mattered, which I dismissed how the power delta mattered, power and toughness delta mattered for this set because there's so few punishments for it. Like, the hero tokens, so usually, for everyone else, usually what we would look at in, like, how much worse is a 3/1 than a 3/3? And there's not enough ways to punish a 3/1 in this set for me to really evaluate that. But like in Outlaws of Thunder Junction, when so many things made a 1/1 outlaw, being a 3/1 or a 4/1 is a real liability. So I didn't bother with examining that this time. And Lion, I was more thinking about like how much that mattered. I think I overvalued this one. I definitely overvalued this one. This should be a 4. Yeah, because you just want land so much of the time, and there's so many good 2-drops. All right, yeah. With the power toughness delta, sometimes matters a lot. The trading is always useful. I always use that. All right, up next is Gubu Gardener. This one is a weird one. It's a 2-mana 1/3 dork in a set where you kind of want lands, but there's so many good things to ramp to, just not at common. Like, I'm not super excited playing this a turn early because the 3-drops are so good, but I'm pretty excited getting my 6-drops a turn early or my 7-drops a turn early. It's just awkward because so many things attack as 3/2s. So a 1/3 in some sets is a great body. In this set, so many different colors have chocobos, which attack as 3/2s, even though they don't block as 3/2s. So it's not the best blocker, even though it's a 1/3, although it is a little harder to kill. It's great in the go wide decks. Like when you in the green white sagas deck, it's very strong. And in the red green and blue green ramp decks, I'd rather get lands almost every time. So I think I have it as a 4 in blue green and red green, a 5 in green white, and it's also like a couple of these let you run fewer lands in green black, so it's probably also a 4 in those decks. Yeah, okay. So we dropped the average but raised the floor. I like that for the Gardener. It's always going to be fine. All right, up next, the Ochu. You get to activate this a lot more often than I thought, and a 1-mana 1/1 Death Touch is pretty good in this set. But activating it, the thing that surprised me the most in this set is how often people would activate this and have it not matter, right? Like, how people had 8 mana with 2 permanents or 1 permanent in their graveyard all the time. If I'm paying 8 mana, I wanted to get more than +1/+1 or +2/+2 because you can never double activate it. So I ended up raising, like, I originally had this higher, but it's usually just going to be a 1-mana 1/1 Death Touch, and I'm not excited about 1-mana 1/1 Death Touch unless I am trying actively to stall for the extreme late game or even just the mid game. I have a lot of bites, of which there's only 1 in the set. Or I have a lot of recursion, and the recursion is really good. So the recursion is also where the where you get the most power and toughness out of this. So I have it at a ceiling of 6 in the green black self mill decks. Everywhere else, I think it's a 3 or a 4. When you need it, you'll know and you'll pick it up. Gisal Greens. This is just a good card. It's a 2-mana 2/2 that attacks as a 3/2. That's solid. It's not amazing, but it's solid. And then late game, you get to have a very overcosted 2/2 that attacks as a 3/2. But because green, so many of the decks care about landfall, like you will get to 7 mana eventually in those decks. And some games just stall out even when you're not a deck with a lot of lands. Like you're incentivized to keep playing lands because of the landfall. I think it's solid. So I gave it a 5, and it's usually just going to be a solid 2-drop with a little bit of gravy in the late game. I guess I should lower the floor because not being a permanent is relevant, but like even the decks that care about it being a permanent are going to be milling themselves and will eventually get a card out of it later. There's 2 ways to, great question, Wingspear. So there are 2 ways to landfall on your opponent's turn that I'm happy to play. The first is the Pew Pew UFO, 2-mana artifact 0/4, taps put a land into play. That card lets you landfall on your opponent's turn, and it's also a good body in this set format. Like a 2-mana 0/4 flyer is surprisingly strong in this set. And then the other one is a 3-mana trick, we're gonna look at in 2 cards. Laporet Scout. It's a solid body. It's not exciting. It's a 3-mana 3/2 that attacks as a 4/3. It's an okay blocker. It's an okay attacker. Every once in a while, you get to attack as a 5/4. If your deck has a lot of ways to put out multiple bodies at a time, it's pretty good. But there's not a lot of ways to do that. The best one, I think, is Fat Chocobo. Most cards that put out multiple bodies are a lot of work. And by the time you put in that work, it's pretty average. It's actually good with like Cactar. If I have a couple Cactars, I'm pretty happy with it. If this is so like just math wise, if this is attacking as a 4/3 every time, I'm medium happy with it. It needs to be attacking as a 5/4 or more before I'm happy upgrading it, but it does tend to trade up on defense. So it's playable, but not exciting. Precious Wanderings. This is the other way to trigger landfall on your opponent's turn, and it's very good in the decks that want to do it. So I gave it a 4 average, floor of 3, ceiling of 6, mostly just because some of the card, like if you're only trying to ramp, then this is replaceable. But powers and toughnesses are close enough that if you play any random 2-drop and then play this on turn 3, it will be like that counter is valuable. The ++1 counter is valuable. It's a very good trick. You would play 3 mana, put a ++1 counter on target creature you control, draw a card, and putting a land into play can be better than draw a card. It's not always better, but it can be. Ramping is something you're very interested in doing in this format, and there's some really good towns. There's a lot of towns that I'm very happy to grab at instant speed. There's a lot of town decks too. So like I gave it a 4, floor of 3, ceiling of 6, but rather than be something that you always want in a ramp deck, you want it for particular deck constructions. You want it for landfall, like you want it for packages. Like you play this when you don't have a lot of 4s and 1s and 5s, or when you have a lot of 2s that you're happy to give an extra power, or when you have one really good rare town. There's a really good blue-green rare town. Solid card, happy to play it. There's a lot of blowout potential. I tend to pick it pretty high because I value lands, but overall is not the most important card in a ramp deck just because there's other good cards in a ramp deck. You know, so Wingspear says that this guy is pretty good with our Galoo's Final Act, and you're absolutely right. This card is very good with it. It's 4 counters, it's trades up, and your opponent has to be a little careful about you. Like they have to respect other instant speed creatures. And one signpost of a really great and deep set is when the cards that are bad work together. So like, I don't think this is a great card. I don't think this is a great card. They're pretty good together. That's good design. All right, up next we have Kina. This is a card I had rated much higher, and then I played the set. I was never actually happy with this. Like, if this is a 3 mana 2/3, that's pretty bad. There's not a ton of other frogs. There's a few other frogs. Hold up. I had the count, but I forgot to write it down. There is only one other frog in the set. And then this thing that makes frogs. But if you're making a lot, like, it's just not free to make tokens. So if you only make one other token with this card, Like, I mean, it doesn't really matter because you're not going to have very many frogs. Flavor is really good. So if you only have one other if you only have one other thing that makes tokens after it comes down, it's fine. So like let's count it out. If you make one token with this and it's the turn after you play it, I think that's a 4. Like a 3 mana 2/3 is a 3. A 3 mana 2/4, even that will later grow a little bit. Like it's usually just going to be a 3 mana 3/4 with the stats with one other token. It's a 4. At 2 or 3 tokens, it's a 5. At 5 or 6 tokens, it's a 6. Like, it's just a lot of work. So I gave it a 3 average with a ceiling of 6 because making tokens is not a free or easy thing. Like, there's lots of things that make one token, right? And I'm really happy to play this with the cards that make I'm really happy to play this if I have enough of them. But I'm not going to first pick it because there's really great rare token makers. Like, some of the rare token makers are absurd. Some of them do it every turn, but there's not a lot of recurring ways to do this. The one thing I did have work really well with Kina was the black spell that destroys a creature, makes a treasure. It makes a treasure every turn and also makes a frog every turn. There's lots of things that combo with it. It's just not free, and none of them are uncommon. So that's what I thought 2-line. I actually had this at a 5 originally because of the job select tokens, but like, fact is there's just not that many good ones in green. I think green only has 2 job selects at all. And they're awkward, right? So like in a red green deck with the 4 mana job select, that's pretty good. Or you could do two 2 mana job selects. And in white, it's fine, but white's not guaranteed to have job select either. Like, if you think about how you're picking your cards, if I know I'm green-white, then I'm always going to be taking sagas over job selects. And what I realized during early access is, like, they're pretty mutually exclusive. You pretty much always have to decide between a fat chocobo and a job selector. I can't remember any names now, suddenly. But like, yeah, I don't think this is an unplayable card. I just think that it's a lot of work to get that rating up, and more work than I expected to get the rating up. Like the green ones, like I at first thought, oh, I'll just play Kina with lots of Bard bows, right? Lots of Bard's bows. But that's so awkward because I would always rather just play a Gigantode after that. It's tough. Like, one thing that you'll realize also that I realized while playing is like, the specific decks, like, so it's a high synergy set, but you want your deck to synergize. And it's not really a puzzle set where you're looking for specific pieces, because I can't, for instance, pick up 4 Kinas to go with my tokens deck because it's legendary. Being legendary makes this effect very hard to replicate or stack. Yeah, it's just work that I'll do, but I'm not gonna pick one this to do the work. All right, up next, Reach the Horizon. The getting 2 towns is so much better than getting 2 lands that I was a little bit stunned. You want something to get that you care about. Like, this is not a set where you, like, so lands do tend to be valuable late into the game, and this is not, you want to do more than just put lands into play, but you will often be doing more than just putting lands into play. This is a great card if you're getting 2 landfall triggers. This is a great card if you're ramping to 7. There's great 7 drops. Like turn 4, Reach the Horizon, turn 5, 7 drop will win you the game. This is the best card in a ramp deck, or one of the best cards in a ramp deck. But I'm not going to play it just because. So yeah, floor of 3, ceiling of 6. It's usually going to be playing closer to that ceiling. Cool card all around. Ride the Shoepuff. This is a weird one. Like, usually, so play pattern wise, this is most often going to be play a 2-drop, then on turn 3, play the Shoepuff, play a tapped land, grow your creature. That's going to feel really good. It's a little fragile because your opponent can kill it. Generally, I'm very happy to have this in an early game deck or a late game deck. Weirdly, not in a mid game deck. Like 7 mana 7/7 is a nice bonus on this. Like, it makes it so that you aren't upset if you draw this after you've played all your lands. Like, oftentimes these, like, there's one in Neon Dynasty, 2 mana 2/2, and you can channel to make a creature. You're really upset if you draw that really late in the game. If you get 5 counters over this over the course of the game, it's going to feel really good, and you can build a landfall deck to do that. But there's a section of the game where I don't want this. So generally, playing this isn't about having a landfall deck or a ramp deck as much as it is about filling out your mid game. Like, I need to make sure I always have other things to do in the middle of the game. Like, I want to play this on turn 2 or on turn 6. I never want to play it on turn 4 or 5. So if my 4s and 5s are good, I'll play this. Or if I have a lot of cards like Reach of the Horizon, I'll play this. Ooh, Chocobo! Yeah, Floor of 2. This is the card that I really don't want in the late game. I think this is the best thing you can do on turn 1, period. Including a lot of the rares. Terrible draw on turn 8. I want to pair this with some looting or with it like in a bird deck. It's not the worst if it's a 2-3 late in the game. Like on turn 5 you can play it and then a Reach the Horizon. But yeah, not too happy in the late game. I gave it a 4, Floor of 2, Ceiling of 6, and medium effort. It's usually going to be playing between those. The more cards like Reach the Horizon and the Chocobo kick you have, the better it's going to feel. But yeah, you can put that work in if you want to. Otherwise, you just hope to have it early. Black Chocobo, cool card. Like, so too small. This card's too small. Hold up. There we go. All right, this is good because a 2-mana 2/2 landfall be a 3/2 is good. You should not expect to flip this. It's a lot of work to flip this, and you don't really. Like, yeah, getting a land is nice, but you don't care about it for ramping because you needed 4 birds. You care about it for triggering all the landfalls. And you don't transform until the first main phase. Originally, I had this higher because rectangles are good. Like, but there is no value to this for being an enchantment. You don't gain anything for the permanent type enchantment if it's not a saga. Growing the team is really good because you already have 4 birds. If you put in the effort, go for it. Like, this is a card that there's bird decks. You can be a bird deck. It's not easy, and I wouldn't try it without the rares, but if you have the rares, this is a really good card. Otherwise, it's a fine 2-drop. I'm raising the floor to a 4 because a 2-mana 2/2 that attacks as a 3/2 is not a 4. It's solid, but replaceable. Summon Fat Chocobo. This is the most important saga for the Sagas deck at common, and it is the most important common for the birds deck because it's one of the only ways to make 2 birds with 1 card. It's just good. Like, this is big enough that your opponent doesn't get to ignore it for 4 turns. Like, the thing you fear on Sagas is your opponent being able to just ignore it until it dies, because it'll die eventually. But making a bird, giving everything trample 3 times is pretty good. I gave it a Floor of 4, Ceiling of 6. It's usually going to be a 5. It's just a good 5-drop. It's 5 mana for 6 power and toughness, spread out on a very relevant card type. And then Summon Fenrir. I think this is tied for highest rated green card for me. It's just so efficient. 3 mana, get a land on your 3/2. What? Like, yeah, your opponent might be able to wait this out, and your opponent's probably going to wait this out most of the time, especially if they just play a 4/4. They get to block it, but you get to do this on turn 3 and then 5-drop on turn 4, and your 5-drop on turn 4 is 1 larger. Like, if your opponent ignores this, if your opponent kills this right away, it replaces itself. If your opponent kills this with a spell, then you're up a card. If your opponent killed this with an instant or sorcery, and they don't play a creature, then you're up 2 cards. Like, this is Divination, put a plus. This is Cultivate, Divination, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, trade with something. This is absurd. Like, this Floor of a 5 is if you fail here and you just get a land and draw a card, then it's still a 5. This is a great card. Really absurdly good. A lot of value. Right. Like, when your opponent is upset because they had to shock this before you got to put a counter on something and draw a card, like, then they just got, if you have to discard a removal spell and your opponent got a land, it feels really bad. Tiva's Limit Break. this one's getting a revisit. 1 mana +2/+2 is actually pretty good in this set. And if you get to 8 mana, triple a creature's power and toughness, like 8 mana wins the game. I've been saying that a lot. Your 8 mana spells win the game, and they're easily accessible. And one of the reasons that the 8 mana rares are less oppressive than usual is because the 8 mana uncommons win the game. You do have to get a creature through, but plus giving it tripling it is pretty good. And 1 mana +2/+2 is like a passable trick. So I gave it a 4, floor of 3, ceiling of a 5. We may find that this is larger. It kind of like, this is a combo card. I might even raise the ceiling because there's a red fling. So if I get to attack with my 5/5 and double its power and toughness to hit you for 10 and then fling it for 10, it's gonna feel pretty good. Doesn't happen very often, but I love these combo pumps. No, so it's only one. You only get to choose one of these, Wingspear. Great question. So you can't give +2/+2 and double. It's either +2/+2 or double. So you're never paying 3 mana unless it's at least a 3/3. Great question. All right, so this is tied for the best uncommon. And it's pretty much the same reason. Yeah, so this is for the same reason. Like, this is a mana dork that is a real threat. And there's a lot of humans. If you grow 1 human, then you just played a 2/2 that grew. It also just so happens that the other wolves and dogs in this set are very good. Like, compared to the chocobos, the wolves are all kind of busted. And like, if I have a summon, if I go turn 2 Torgal, turn 3 summon Fenrir, then turn 4 I have 6 mana to play a human that comes in with 2+1/+1 counters. And it's any color. It's surprising that it's not just green to me. Like, this is fixing ramp power on an efficient body, and it's got legendary typing. Is so powerful. All right, so J1. So since you're back, first thing I do when I'm in my sealed pool, I'd set aside all my summons. I think Fenrir is one of the best uncommons to be looking for. I think Torgal is one of the best uncommons to be looking for. For sealed, like, they're good in draft, but for sealed specifically, these cards are what let you splash all of your other ridiculous cards. And the second thing I look for is to figure out where you're winning the game. So like, reach the horizon, like ramp these. If you're winning the game because you have 7 or 8 mana, that's an actual thing to work for. I don't know if it's playable, Wingspear. I think you just encounter him. He's someone's pet, but he's like a helper character. Like, there's a lot of good things to do with a lot of mana, so figure out how much mana you're using early and often, J1. And then, like, removal's kind of interchangeable in a lot of situations. You want the best removal, but you can always fit the best removal in. It's more important to figure out your synergies and your themes. So, like, figure out if your sagas are artifacts, figure out if you're late or early, figure out if you value flexibility, because the tiered spells really give you a lot of flexibility. Town Greeter. So we've had this effect be ridiculous in other sets. In this set, you want this in blue-green, kind of. You want this in black-green very badly. You don't care about this card at all in green-white, and you don't care about this card very much in red-green. So it runs the full gamut. It's okay fixing, but if you are hitting towns reliably to gain that 2 life, it's pretty good. The thing is, 2-drops are good. Like, the bad 2-drops in this set are still 2/2s. So a 2-drop that doesn't block them means you're going to take some damage. So if I'm not gaining the life reliably, I don't want it. But I think this is actually just I think this is a 6 in green-black. I think this is a 5 in blue-green. I think this is a 4 in red-green. I think this is a 3 in green-white. So it actually is just those ratings, and then you'll adjust upwards. That's why the average is a little higher based on your other cards that care about milling yourself and the number of towns. It's also inherently a little higher in multicolored decks and more than 2-color decks. Like, it's not a land card in your graveyard, it's a land card from among them, so you can whiff. I hate whiffing this card. It's good though. Like, all right, and then our last card is our only meld card in the set. Really cool one. So like, 4 mana, 3/2, mill 2 cards. You can get value out of the mill 2 cards, and you get to pick up a permanent. You want to have permanents you can pick up. I think I don't think that's guaranteed. I don't think you're guaranteed to hit a permanent or have a permanent you want to pick up. And a 3/2 body is small enough that I don't want this card if I'm not picking up permanents. But the better recursion is, and you'll have a pretty good idea of how good recursion is at any given point in your deck, the more I want this card. If you get to meld it, you win the game. So, real quick, Ragnarok Divine Deliverance, it's a 7/6 Vigilance, Menace, Trample, Reach, Haste. So it blocks and it attacks. And when it dies, you kill a permanent and pick up a permanent. Your opponent has to kill this. They probably have an answer for this. So the other half of this costs 3 mana, and then it's another 5 mana to flip. So once again, 8 mana does win the game. And it's not invincible, but like, this is a card that they must deal with after you have generated value. Like, both of the other two generate value. It's just fragile. Any removal spell in this format, outside of blue, stops the meld. So I'll be very surprised if you get to meld, but go for it. Try to meld. If you do it, you win. If you get to meld, it's because you've won the game in other ways already, but this is a great finisher. Love the card though. Don't ignore these ratings. Like, these ratings are incorporated into Vanille and her partner. I love that they snuck one meld card in here though. It's a really flavorful one. Also, I liked having her in my party. Oof. All right, we're gonna take a 90-second break while I run an ad and remember how to breathe, and then we'll be back. If anyone has any questions about green, go for it. We can do black next or red next. We're gonna take a 90-second ad, and then I'm going to add in I did green black. All right, back in 90 seconds. See you soon. Just need to do red, black, green, black, white, black. Oh, I did them all. Finished. Blue, green, green, white, red, green. Oh, this is green. What am I doing? Black. I need red, black still. Nope, I finished. Oh, I gotta remember how to breathe. That's fine, J1, but I don't agree with you. Like, black white sack is great. Black blue red spells. You don't need Vivi, but you do need like Shantoto. Red black is awesome. You need the payoffs. That's why if you look at my pick orders, payoffs. You need payoffs first. So if you J1, if you hang out for the intro to the colors, you'll get the cards you need. Be right back. But water. I like birds too. Red black was really fun. All right, we'll start with that archetype then, because I do want to talk about that. I haven't gotten to talk about it yet. We should do red last, I think. We'll do black next. All right, red black is really cool, and so there's a thing with red where the red cards are like, hang on, like the red cards are mostly they're either very situational or very flexible. There's not a lot of cards that I'd be like, this goes into 2 archetypes, this goes into 1 archetype. But one of the things we're going to be saying is pretty much all of the red cards go into red black because there's so many instants and sorceries, and it's a really cool deck. So in a lot of the we see this situation a lot, especially lately, where the aggro decks will have to deal a lot of damage early and then burn them out the rest of the way. And that's the same thing here, except for red, black, dark wizards. You deal a lot of damage early is like 6, and then you deal the other 14 damage with pings. Really cool archetype overall. So blue-red cares a lot about like big spells. Red-black just cares about spells in general, non-creature spells. So you need your payoffs first. So I originally had Black Waltz number 3 when I rated it a little bit lower. And I still think it's a low rating in terms of pick order. But if you're going to be red-black, you do need these early. You need to pick them up, and then you need to protect them, and that's a lot of work. But your payoffs first, then your card advantage. So there's actually just so much removal available in red and black that running out of cards is more of a concern. Like keeping the cards flowing is more difficult than removing your opponent's threats. So card advantage after your payoffs, then you need your removal, and then you need your wizards, your random wizards. Like if you're drafting red black and it's the open seat, then your random things that make 0/1 black wizards that deal 1 damage to your opponent whenever you cast a non-creature spell will just come to you because they're weak in other decks. This is really the only deck that wants them, and it wants them quite badly. You just have to pick them up 4th priority. So figure out if you're killing them with just pings, you can build a deck that never attacks. Or if you're just finishing them off with pings. And those often are at odds because the 0/1 black wizards have 0 power. And a lot of the ones that deal the most damage they're not great attackers. They don't have a lot of power. So like, are you putting in some early damage and then burning them out, or are you entirely burning them out? There are rares that make it a lot easier. There's a wizard that makes your wizards deal double damage. Then you get to deal 2 damage per spell. They'll die pretty fast. Figure out if you care about the mana value, how much mana you're spending on your spells, because you might not. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. A lot of the black-red payoffs don't care at all how much mana was put into. A few of the red ones do. And the best thing for that are the flashback spells. They're cheap to cast, and then they have expensive flashbacks. And you can be a full grind deck. Most of the decks do not want to do something like play 9 removal spells. But red black can play full 9 removal spells, 6 sources of card draw, and then lots of wizards, because all of those card draw spells and removal spells ping, and that adds up really fast. Like, the inevitable difficulty of sets of removal is bad is that your opponent will find 1 spell to win. Like if I think that removal spells are bad because like if I know my opponent has, let's say I know my opponent has an 8 mana win the game saga, win the game eventually, then I don't want to be trading removal spells off with them because eventually they'll just have their 8th land and play the spell and I'll lose. But in black red specifically, you get to play out these creatures that they don't do a lot, but they can chump whatever your opponent plays that it will eventually kill you, and all of those removal spells that buy you 1 turn also deal some damage, both because you get to attack a bit and because you're dealing damage from the creatures that are in play. All right, white-black artifact sack. You need the payoffs first. The things that care about things being sacrificed, Judge Magister is a really good one, albeit a little faster than the others. Then your win conditions, you gotta figure out how you're winning. It's not free, and black-white doesn't have a built-in win condition. Black-white sort of latches on to black's win conditions or white's win conditions. So like white-blue artifacts has a bunch of good ones. Maybe you're equipping, Judge counts. And then wizards will work. You can make a lot of wizards and ping them out. Then you need your fodder, things that you are actually sacrificing. You got to pick that pretty high. There's not a lot of it that's good. Like, you can get the bad fodder, like instant ramen, late. The good fodder you have to pick aggressively. And then removal is plentiful in these colors, and you are less concerned with finding the right removals. Like blue white really wants white Auracite because it's an artifact piece of removal, and blue black really wants your ice magic. Yes, rats and Hekdyes. That's a good rat is really important in this deck. The rat is a 2-mana 2/2 that makes a treasure. Hekdyes is only good in this deck. I don't think it's good in a lot of the decks. So while you're drafting, you need to ask yourself, do your creatures need to be alive to win the game? So the answer isn't always yes. Some of them come back. But the go wide strategies, if you're pumping your whole team and attacking with everything, then you need them to be alive. Figure out how much you care about them being alive, and that'll help you figure out what your plan is. Oh, the other good fodder random task is job select. The cheap job select equipment with high equip cost are great pieces of fodder. You figure out what kind of removal you need. You can take it, like, the priority shifts a bit. The best one is your 2-mana, give a creature -2/-2, kick or sack a thing. And then figure out if anything is worth splashing. Like, you want to know kind of early because it changes your pick order. So like the rats, for instance, 2-mana 2/2, die, make a treasure. That is the best way to splash anything in this deck. But you might have to make a choice between an equipment and a rat, and that'll be what you're splashing and whether it's worth it helps determine that pick. Blue black graveyards. This one ended up being more controlling than I thought. I thought there would be more artifact synergies. It's really better as just control. I played Esper artifact control twice and straight blue black control once, and then blue black artifacts just didn't really work even with the rares. So you need your win conditions first, then your engines or card advantage. So I count like the towns package as card advantage, but you can make it work with artifacts. You can do some sacrifice synergies. Black is so flexible, it has its fingers in so many different things that as long as you lean in, it'll work. Then removal, you need a lot of it in this format, in this archetype. And then your blockers, you don't want to, if you have to spend a removal spell on every threat, you'll lose. So you need some blockers. Lock Hole is a really good one. You got to be a little careful, like the job select decks, if they have enough mana to equip, every creature is a threat. So you need to make sure that you are using removal, you're thinking about how you're using removal, and you need to block what you can. Like, you need a lot of removal, but you also got to save a lot of removal spells. Yeah, Task, I had a lot of fun with Golbez, but I mean, it was good because it was a 1/4 body, but I didn't get to use it really. Yeah, and then figure out how you're winning. Bombs are the best way to win, but you can grind them out. You can win with towns. I beat somebody with Strixhaven Stadium, which is one of the bonus sheet cards. That was cool. And then Green Black Grave, we just did this one, but generally you need your permanent substitutes. Substitutes for permanents, like this Cloud of Darkness is a substitute removal spell in the form of permanent. Then your payoffs for having things in your graveyard. Then you need your self mill, you gotta pick it, you gotta really work at it. And then your regular removal spells. Figure out how you're using your graveyard, figure out what you're recurring. And if you're running anything that isn't a permanent, it's gotta be really good. And removal spells will count, but not as much as they should. First up, we have Ahriman. This is a good card because flying is good. Flying Death Touch means it blocks everything, and it's not hard to get a few attacks in and then scrape some value out of it. So like in Black-Red Mages, you get to deal some damage with it early, and then you have something to use your mages for if they aren't generating value. Black-White, this is actually a pretty good sack outlet. Black-Red, or I did Black-Red. Black-Green, this is like, just Death Touchers are good in Black-Green. It's pretty average in Black-Green, and give it a 4. And then Blue-Black, this isn't the 3-drop blocker you want or the removal spell you want, but it kind of does a little of both, and you can get some card advantage out of it. I think it's pretty cool. I gave it a 5 with a ceiling of 5 and a floor of 3. It does have diminishing returns, but it'll usually play closer to that ceiling of 5. You'll notice there's a lot of black 4s and 5s because a lot of the black cards are fairly flexible. Up next, Albed Salvagers. It's solid because it just kind of has a lot, like, this is usually gonna be a 3-mana 2/3. Like, it survives better than a lot of these Blood Artist effects, so you're not too happy with the size other than that. But it is an artifact. Things die a lot in this. And the drain adds up so fast. Like black red really wants this because it works so well with your mages in terms of your game plan of just burning them out. Black white wants this because it's a good artifact creature, and then green black wants this because it lets you push through. Like green black actually does end up having a lot of permanents kind of hanging around. I think this is probably too high a ceiling. We're gonna go ahead and drop that ceiling. But I think this is a great card in black white and a great card. I think it's a 6 in black red and a 5 or a 6 in black white based on the rest of your deck, and a 5 in green black and a 4 in the blue black. It's pretty bad in blue black, so I might end up lowering the floor later. Black Mage's Rod. This one I came back to a bunch. This design is really cool. This card is great in black red and good in black white. This is good fodder in black white because it makes 2 bodies. It makes a 2/1 that attacks. You can then sack it later. You don't actually care about the pinging so much in black white. In black red, this card is so like, this is one of the best commons for black red. This is a good card in black white. I don't think blue black or green black want this really at all. But like earlier when we looked at green and I said that green spell was an archetypal bridge, Commune with Beavers is an archetypal bridge. And it's great with the Black Mage's Rod. Like you can sort of cobble together a non-creature spell deck in green black, which I think is really cool. Yeah, I do too, Higa. It's really cool. It's a non-creature spell that makes a token, but it's not like, if this is just a 2-mana 2/1 that pings once, that's going to be a 3 for you. But being 2 rectangles, 2 permanents, and the ping make it pretty good in some archetypes. So I gave it a 4, 5 in 2 of the decks, 3 in 2 of the decks. But like it's gonna average out to a 4, and when you want it, you'll know, and you'll really want it. This card, this is one of my favorite cards in the set. It's just so much. It was so much to parse it. So 4 mana, draw 2, bad. 4 mana, draw 2, make a blocker, good. 4 mana, draw 2, make a blocker at sorcery speed, okay. Giving all your wizards +1/+0 and lifelink is priceless. So the 2 life matters. The 2 life prevents you from, the 2 life means that you don't get to just cram this into your deck as a card draw spell. But like in red black, this card is one of the better red black cards because red black struggles a little bit for card advantage. Like they want to refuel really badly. Otherwise, and the life gain is very relevant because the life gain also triggers on, like lifelink triggers on the pings as well. If I give all my wizards +1/+0 and lifelink and then play another spell, this wizard that is now one with lifelink also gains life. You can gain so much life off of this card, and I would play this card if it were just draw 2 cards, make a wizard. That's a 4. I think this card is a 7 in red black, and everywhere else is going to be somewhere in between based on the number of wizards you have and the number of non-creature spells you have. But it's powerful. This is a really good card draw spell. And this is a set where I'd play Divination. Like, card draw is good in this format. This one I loved, but there's so many decks that just don't mind sacking that creature. So I gave it a 4, floor of 3, ceiling of 5. It's only going to be a 5 if that wizard is worth a card to you. And in some decks, that wizard is worth a card. But if it's not worth a card, I don't like edicts. I don't think edicts are good enough in this set without that bonus. So this card is not archetype dependent. It's dependent on how well you use that wizard, which means how many non-creature spells you have, how interested are you in burning them out. Cool card, not something I always want. It's deck specific. Ooh, I love this one. So 3 mana 4/1 is a pretty good body. Like it will trade up most of the time. Often it'll trade with a 2/2, a 2-mana 2/2. But equipping for free, like so many of these cards we look at and it's like, well, how often are you really going to equip this and cast a spell in a turn? You equip when you don't have anything else to do. Well, the Great Sword is different. You equip when you you force your opponent to trade with your 0/1 wizards. If I have 2 copies of the Dark Knight's Greatsword, I want every copy of Cornered by Black Mages because this makes everybody relevant at the low cost of a 7th of your life. The life total is a real cost, but you can build your deck to make it less of a problem. So This again is not, I mean, it's a non-creature spell that is a 4/1 creature, but the sword is really good when left behind as long as you're gaining life. There's a lot of incidental life gain, but this card means that you will have to probably play a few worse cards in order to gain some life. So like if I'm, let's say I'm a black-white deck, Dark Knight's Greatsword, and I have to choose between the Cleric one that is a 2/2, that gains life on attack, and this Black Mage's Rod. If I don't have the Greatsword, then I will value Black Mage's Rod over the White Mage's Staff. If I have the Greatsword, then the White Mage's Staff becomes a better pick. Yeah, just pay attention to your life gain. There's so many 5s in black. Black is very strong. Demon Wall, love this card. This card's so cool. 2 mana 3/3 defender, bad, but it's bad because it's bad in the late game. Like, we have 2 mana 3/3 defenders all the time in lots of sets, usually in blue. Yeah, that's a good point too, Ranger. The sword can be played in any aggro deck, even if you are paying the life. Like, the life is less of a cost if you're racing, or if you're winning the race by enough. So 2 mana 3/3. Let's say it doesn't have this text. Generally, the reason a 2 mana 3/3 defender is bad is because it's not good in an aggro deck, and you want it late. You don't want it till late in the game. This one blocks really well for a long time, and then suddenly becomes a 5/5 with Menace. And note, this isn't activate only once, it's not Monstrosity. You can keep doing this. So it's a 5/5 with Menace, and then you attack with it, and then you untap with it, and your opponent can't block with 2 3/3s. If your opponent has 2 3/3s, you just activate it again, and they both die. However, there's also a lot of ways to put counters on it otherwise. So this is a 4 with none of the ways to put counters on it. Like, this is a 4 when it's a 2 mana 3/3 that becomes a 5/5 with Menace. But there's a ramp spell. You pay 3 mana, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and now it attacks as a 4/4 on turn 3. There is a Divination. Draw 2 cards, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, combat training. Now it's a 4/4 on turn 3 with Menace. It's very good. This card is so much better than it looks. This might be the one that I had more of a... I don't know what other content creators thought about this one. I didn't hear them talk about it. It's also an artifact, which is relevant. Love this card. Yeah, this is the blocker all the control and mid-range decks wants. The only time it's actively bad is in the aggro decks, and you can make it good in an aggro deck. Yeah, that's true. If you can... So there's indestructible counters on an 8-mana Saga, and there's stun counters. There might be others, but those are the only ones I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah, this is a better Argothian sprite because the size matters so much more. Being a 3/3 matters. Oh, yeah. Counter counts. Up next, Evil Reawakened. So, don't underestimate how good 2++1 counters, like 2 additional points of size is. With reanimation spells that cost 5 mana, you're usually upset if you cast it on like a 4-drop or a 3-drop if you lose out on mana. But the 2 counters mean that I'm more inclined to play this. Like, I'll still cast this on turn 5, even if I'm only getting back my 3-drop or 4-drop. So that takes some of the risk out of being a reanimation spell. Usually reanimation spells, the risk is that you won't have a target. Evil Reawakened is a lot more likely to have a target than other reanimation spells. So I gave it a 5, floor of 4, ceiling of 6. Yes, exactly. You can also land cycle a 6/6 and bring that back as an 8/8. I cast it on a Demon Wall last night, and it didn't feel terrible. Like, it was a 5 mana 5/5 with Menace, and I got to grow the next turn. Exactly. I like that way of thinking about a Ranger. So Ranger says 2+1/+1 counters makes a creature 1 or 2 mana better, which means we're happy reanimating a 2 or 3 mana creature, or a 3 or 4 mana creature, where normally we wouldn't be. Normally we would want this to cost the creature we target to cost at least 5 mana to feel worth it. But you don't have to cram your deck full of cards. Like Duskmourn had a reanimation theme, which was super fun but not very good. And that was because you had to do so much work, and like you would lose games even with a hand with reanimation spells and all of these 7 mana creatures in your hand. Like, you don't have to run 4 7 mana creatures to make Evil Reawakened a playable card. All right, so here we have the other half of Vanille to Meld. This card is, so she does nothing alone. He does nothing alone. Yeah, she does nothing alone. gets really good really fast with a few spells that trigger her. If you trick a 3 mana 2/3, bad. 3 mana 2/3 that draws a card is great. If you draw 2 cards with it, it's better. If you draw 3 cards with it, and so on and so on and so on. Like, this is a must kill once it's down, but your opponent doesn't, you don't necessarily get value out of this. I think they did a great job with the meld creatures, because both meld creatures are good in their decks without the other half. And sometimes you'll get to make a 7/6 Vigilance, Menace, Trample, Reach, Haste. Fight on! So it's not that this effect is bad. 3 mana double Raise Dead is pretty good. It's just that there's competition. There's a lot of good Raise Dead effects in this format. Even if they cost a little more mana. The better your creatures are, the happier you are to play this. And sometimes you're going to cast this and it's going to feel like you can't lose. And sometimes your opponent's going to cast this and it's going to just feel terrible. But you're not guaranteed targets for this. And there are a lot of non-creature creatures. Yeah, usually we see a better version of this. Like, if this was another chance, mill 2 cards, then do it, I think it would be way too good. So I get why it's just pick up 2 creatures. Yeah, right. And Whale of War gave everything -1/-1. I think those would both be too powerful in this set. So I get why they made it like this. But ultimately, you would rather have one of the creatures that does this effect. If you play it, it's not going to be too upsetting, but you don't have to pick it very high. The Final Days. Okay, so 4 mana make 2 tap 2/2s is a little weak. That's a 3. The flashback is kind of great, and this is also something that you're happy to just mill out. Like, you get to play this in your self-mill deck really happily, but that's its home. You play it with your self-mill cards. You don't get to play it everywhere either. Like, Black-White doesn't really get to play this card, even though they want all the bodies, because Black-White has so many Black-White has so many, like, equipment that they want to be running, so they have enough creatures to sack. This is really, really good in green-black, and it's solid in blue-black. And it's pretty weak in white-black, and it's okay in red-black. Like, this is a 7 in green-black. Everywhere else is kind of weak. You want to be milling yourself and running a lot of creatures, because it is only yeah, 2 things to make sure you remember. Ranger got it. They are tapped. They're not blockers. This is a long-term win the game plan. And then at 6 mana, so I don't actually agree with that, Ranger. I think you're happy with, if you have 2, it's okay. If you paid 4 mana to make 4 power and then flashed it back for 6 mana to make 4 power, that's still a good card. But at 8 power, at 10 power, at 12 power, it's really busted. Great design. I think it's a cool card. This thing's terrifying also. It's like a mouth worm. It's so scary. Yeah, don't get too greedy. Like, 3 is fine. But if you pay 6 to flash this back, it's still 4 power. Like, making 4 power on a spell that already made you 4 power is pretty good. But they're tapped. You got to remember that they're tapped. You have to have other ways to survive if you're okay with it. It could be a Dragon Parade, but I don't know if that makes it less scary. Hey Kelsey, thank you so much for the follow. I'm sorry you didn't get the notification. So this is the content that we make for recording. So I turn the notifications off, but I'm still very grateful for your follow. Thank you so much. Let me know if you have any questions. I address everything between slides. Ooh, this is a card that I had much higher before I got to play with it in early access. It's so awkward. This shouldn't be as awkward as it is, but it is awkward. So your best case scenario is that your opponent, you don't have any tokens. Like, the 2 best cases scenario are you have a fodder creature, specifically a fodder non-token creature, and your opponent has a non-fodder, non-token creature. They only have 1 creature in play. Then you sacrifice your creature you don't mind dying. They sacrifice their creature they do mind dying. You're left with a 3/2. Great. 100%. It's a 6. It doesn't happen nearly as often as I wanted it to. There's a lot of fodder creatures hanging around. Your second good option, your opponent sacrifices a token and you have no tokens in play. That means that usually they have chocobos. But if they have any job select creatures, they sack a hero, you're SOL. Yeah, so that last line I thought would be relevant, but it's not relevant like I wanted it to. So it kills a Chocobo, it kills a Saga after they've already gotten the Saga out, like after they've already gotten what is usually the upfront best. Like if it kills a Saga, your opponents have probably already drawn a card to lock down a creature or made a 2/2 with it. And you have to have no enchantments in play. There's also fodder enchantments hanging around, like side quests that they've already given the value. Like this is a very good sideboard card, and it's good in black white specifically because black white will have fodder creatures, but it's not free like I wanted it to be. So often it's just a 4-mana edict, and that's bad. You don't want a 4-mana edict. Like if your opponent kills itself, it's bad. So really good question, Kelsey. Kelsey says, how common are Sagas to play against? So, Sagas are very common to play against. You'll see them a lot. The problem isn't that you're not killing a Saga. The problem is that so often you kill a Saga that already did the thing. So like, yes, you do need to kill the Summon Fenrir, but it feels so bad to spend a card to kill the Summon Fenrir after they got a land. And it's good against the Summon Fenrir because you have a 3/2 already. But most of the things you're killing leave something positive behind. So the problem isn't, but you also have to not play enchantments. Like you get a 3/2 left over, but only if you have a deck that doesn't play Sagas yourself. And the argument against that is like, well, I'll play it on curve and my opponent will, and it'll hit their Saga. But if you're playing this on curve, your opponent doesn't have a Saga that you care about. Most of the Sagas you care about killing, Summon Fenrir is an exception, but most of the cards you care about killing are 5 and 6 mana. So I'm telling you, like, I had this at a 5. I dropped it 2 full grades after playing with it in 3 different decks at early access. Like it should be good. It looks like it should be good. And yes, it seems flexible, but your like the flexibility you get from it is the 4-mana 3/2. So think about it. What tokens do they have that you don't? It's almost always going to be Black Mage or Hero, right? So again, I thought the same thing, and then I'm like, oh, they're always sacrificing an 0/1 or a 1/1. If you get a Chocobo, it's really good. Hitting your opponent's Chocobo with this is great. That's why it's a good sideboard card, because it's great against the Chocobo decks, and it's good against the Saga decks. Like, this is an anti-green-white card to a ridiculous degree. I feel so good against green-white. If it hits a job select token, it can. Depends. So the ones that come down after Gaius are hard to equip. So again, great against green white because it hits their Bard. But against like White Mage's Staff, Black Mage's Staff, like the ones that it's most likely to hit are the ones that are the cheapest to re-equip. It's coincidental. On paper, this card looks really good, but all of the ones that it come down before it that you hit with it are cheap to re-equip, and then you are just out a 3/2. Yes, if you hit a Bard, the Reach one, it feels amazing. Again, that's a green-white thing, so it's really good against green-white. I don't want it elsewhere. I want it in black-white and against green-white, and that's not to say it's unplayable. Like, that's just why it's got a high ceiling. Again, in black white, this is a 5. Against green white, this is a 6. Yeah, hitting your opponent's equip 6 feels great. Cool card. Just be careful with it. It's not as good as it looks. It looks really good. It plays okay. Yeah, I love the Bard's Bow though. Heck dies. Okay. I think that this is one of the evaluators of a format. Ravenous Rats. How good is Ravenous Rats is one of the ways you can evaluate a format, and the answer in this format is medium. Virus Beetle in Neon Dynasty is a 6. Heck Dies in this set is a 4. Your opponent can actually run out of cards and has cards that they want to discard. This is a great piece of fodder for black white. Like this is an actively great card in black white. If I'm black white, this is a 5. Being a 1/1 matters. Like there are a lot of it doesn't block as well as you want it to. It's not a great blocker. It is great fodder. It's you want to put work into making it a 2-for-1, and it's good in green black when you can recur it at the right time. Oh, this does not impact the rating at all. During early access, I put a unit out and I had only one 8-mana Saga in hand, and my opponent played a Heck Dies, and I got to discard my 8-mana Saga and win the game. It does, because those, like, hitting, it's a function of how likely you are to hit something relevant. Like, if this is your opponent discarding a land, it doesn't matter that much. And there's a lot of cards that your opponent really wants in the graveyard. There's a lot of opponents who want cards in the graveyard actively, and like, yeah, they still have to discard a card, but it's not going to feel as strong. But overall, like I'm not saying that like this is a great card for some decks, and it is weak in the others. It's a cool card. Burglaries is a good name for it. Yeah, I like it. Like, when it's good, it's going to feel great. It's going to be a 5 in your blue black or red black decks. Like, I don't think I'd bother playing this in red black. In blue black, it's a 4. In green black, it's a 4. In white black, it's great. And this is a 5 in white black. Oh, thank you so much, Kelsey. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I really appreciate the sub. I'm sorry you didn't here. Roll quick because we're between slides. I like the emote explosions. I have so many more emotes. I don't know why it's only using these. All right. So yeah, I'm Scuffle. I do educational content. That's my jam. And I love start of set season because I get to do so much education. All right. Oh, thanks, Theo. So up next, Malboro. This card should be good, and it's not. Like, this card, Ravenous Rats, is inherently an okay card because your opponent is going to have something in hand to discard. Malboro is really good if your opponent's, like, in the late game, if your opponent's at 6 mana, they're probably going to have one relevant card, but this is a card people will learn to play around pretty quickly. Like, keep a land in hand. If you're at 6 mana and you have a 6-drop or a 7-drop, keep a land in hand, hold it there. I do think that there's an actual mill deck, which is good. Like, you get to mill people with this. The 2 life and exile top 3 cards almost add up to a card, but like, this is just not a format where I'm excited to play 6 mana 4/4 draw a card. There are decks where it's good. Some of the control decks, it's very good. Like, this is a fine card in control, and this is a fine card if you're swamp cycling because you are reanimating it. But overall, this is fairly weak. It's just replaceable. If you don't have any other top end, if you don't have any other 6 or 7 drops, go ahead and play it. It's not going to be the end of the world. But you would almost rather have any, like, the black uncommons are really good, and you'd rather have those. And this doesn't aid any plans. There's no archetypes where it's very helpful for it. So you almost all, and this is just a format where you want to prioritize the picks that help your archetypes. Pack of Smokes is so accurate. Yeah. I mean, like, on the other hand, this is just forcing your opponent to be in the room with a smoker. Sorry if you smoke. Ish. Don't smoke, kids. There's kids here. Don't smoke. All right. Namazu Trader. I came up on this card. The treasure is just very relevant. That being said, it's not as good. This is not good in the places where I want it. This is not good in the places where I thought it would be good. I thought this would be like a good card for artifacts, and a fine card for like a green black ramp deck. But this is really good in black white. I did not expect the Surveil and the treasure to be so relevant. Like, this is one of the better pieces of fodder available. But there's so many common 4/4s that I don't want it in the non-controlling style decks. So if I'm a blue-black control deck, this card's really good for that deck. The treasure is relevant, the splash is relevant, and there's a few random, like, artifact matters things. And it's good in black-white because it's 2 pieces of fodder. But if I don't have access to removal or ways to make this slightly bigger, I'm not happy with it because the 4-mana 4/4s are everywhere. The 4-mana 4/4 is the standard. That's also why, like, Gigantode, back to Gigantode, this card's really good, but like, it's replaceable just because there's so many good 4/4s. And because this is the standard, you don't get to play Namazu Trader just for its size. But the treasure's relevant, and the attack trigger is a lot more relevant than I expected. I did not expect the attack trigger to be so good. When you need to be digging, you tend to have extra permanents around, and it's nice. Cool card. Ooh, up next, not a lot to say about it. It's a 6. There's no effort. This will always kill what you wanted to kill. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't talk about the things. So, well, I'm glad you quit, Isaiah. No judgment. Mostly I'm just trying to warn people. Yeah, so the returns 5 and 6 matter. Like, the ramp can be relevant, but you have to put work into making the ramp relevant. And I beat someone who just had, I lost to somebody who ramped in with these. And then I beat someone who played 4 of these, and I just had 2 Gigantoads. There are 2 threatens. Good question, Wingspear. So there's 2 threatens, they're both very good. And we'll talk about them when we get to them. We talked about one already in the multicolored cards. Zidane is the 5-mana 3/3 steal. That one's tough to do steal and sack with, but it's very good. And it works really well with Namazu Trader. Yeah. Overkill, this is 3 mana, destroy target creature, even if it's indestructible. Like, it's just good. So this is the best black removal spell in a vacuum, but lots of the removal spells work better in specific archetypes or with specific cards. One of the things I find really interesting about this set is you're going to open up a pack with like a white Aura Sight and an Overkill and a, where are you? And a Vane's Treachery. Like, and you're going to have to choose which removal spell you want, which one is best for your deck. Like, it's cool. I think that there's a, yeah, there's 2 good steals. This is the baseline for your removal spell. I think it's good to know about this card, and it's good to compare any removal spell you see to this card. But like, artifact, I had a black-white artifacts deck, and I took a white Aura Sight over Overkill. Like, this has no bonus text. It's not a bad thing. Like, the bonus text is like, cost 4 mana, isn't a creature, lets you sacrifice something, is an artifact. There's no bonus text, no effort attached, just kills anything. Nice card. I feel like I should have more to say, but I just don't. Should I up the number? So like the, all right, so we're at 900%. I feel like I need to keep raising this number for percentage of creatures it kills. 9,000 feels fair, isn't it? This is just a murder upgrade. Like, this is strictly better than murder. There's nothing it doesn't kill. I guess you could like swap. You can about face the. There we go. DBZ reference recognized. You can about face a Cactuar and it'll live. Oh, the other card is Vane's Treachery. We'll talk about that one soon. That's near the end of the black cards. Phantom Train. Okay, I had someone get confused about this. This isn't a creature. It looks like a creature, it's not a creature. Very dangerous mistake to make. This is a vehicle that can't be crewed. You can only crew it by sacrificing. But yeah, it hits indestructible creatures. But this is the best sack outlet. Like, it's repeatable and it hits really hard. Like, if you get on your key turn, black-white is another format where you need to know your key turn. You attack with this, you pour everything into it. It's a 12, 12, 13, 13 trample. And you get to do that multiple times. It's very hard to block, but it is a build around. Like, trample is everything here. You aren't allowed to say it's an infinite size Pili-Pala J1. You have to choose a number. Right, so they did a great job on this one. This is a black-white only card. This is really good in black-white sack. This is really bad everywhere else. This is you can make it work in black-red. I love that they did that. Like, this is the card, when you're black-white, this is the card you know you'll get later. No one else is gonna take it. Just do not fall into the trap. You're gonna have people at your pre-release cast this and block with it, and that doesn't work. Yes, you can run out of creatures and this will be bad. don't run out of creatures. Don't run out of artifacts and creatures. If you're making treasures, it's great. If you have a lot of extra bodies, it's great. If you're making black mages, it's great. And this is so cool, and I'm really excited to play with it. But it's got a low floor, and you got to be aware of it. This is a build around. I'm so excited for this one. This is good design. I don't like it when all the cards in the set are always good in every deck. This is such a specific card for a specific style of play, which is my style of play. I love going all in. Right. Yeah, so J1, you don't get to choose infinite Pili-Pala. You have to choose a number arbitrarily for Pili-Pala. One time I was playing in a modern event. Oh my god, J1, were you there? This is one of my first camera matches ever. Someone gained infinite life with the kitchen finks, but they didn't gain infinite life. They only gained 8,000 life, which was a huge mistake because my Slivers deck could deal 8,000 damage. It just took a long time. Wait, do I have what? Yeah, they were just doing the DBZ joke. They went with 9,001 life, and I did 9,000 damage because that deck could. So I couldn't actually ever. So like, they gained infinite life in response to me destroying all of their lands. So I destroyed all of their permanents and I had 12 lords into play. So I had to hit the 12th lord with like 8 cards left in the deck. But since I had sliver hives, I was making so many slivers every turn that we are at 4 additional. We had 4 13/13s being made a turn, which was 96 additional damage a turn. So we were adding 96 damage a turn, and we got there. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, all right. After the stream, I'll tell you about my math riddle that my friend Arthur came up with, or how we came up with that forever. This is why you choose like 60 billion, okay? Never choose a number lower than 40 billion when you're going infinite. Yes, you can say 40 billion. He said 9,001. That was his mistake. He said 9,001 in response to me Armageddoning him. I destroyed all of his lands. He gained 9,001 life because he could gain over 9,000 life. And then I did 9,021 damage. Ah, man, I missed that era of Magic. All right. And next, Poison the Waters. Card's just good. So there's only 2 situations where where this card is cast. One, your opponent has no cards in hand and a ton of creatures in play, and then you'll get to kill creatures with the -1/-1. 2, your opponent has cards in hand, and then you get to take a card out of their hand. The only downside to a card like this, a Thoughtseize, take a card out of your opponent's hand, is that you risk drawing it and whiffing. You risk hitting it at a time when your opponent has nothing to take. If that happens, you get to wipe their board. 2 mana is just really good. There's a lot of 2/1s that you really want to kill, and there's a lot of this effect. Target player reveals their hand, choose an artifact or creature card from it. That's just worth 2 mana. Like, the only reason people don't run it more often, I mean, that's a fair point, Wing Spirit. There is some effort involved in not letting it happen, but you have to like, you get to take this is a good effect. Taking a card out of your opponent's hand for 2 mana is worth it. The only reason you don't see it more often is because of the risk of drawing it late in the game when it doesn't matter. But it'll still matter. And if you can choose to just play it later also. Yeah, everyone stick around. After the stream, I'll tell you about the math riddle we came up with. I gave somebody a puzzle box with a bunch of Teferi's puzzle boxes inside for solving it, and they had to write a 9-page theorem. Kutrub Fourier. Is that how you say it? Fourier? It is the right of replication one, J1. That was from my earliest days as a content creator. That's how I got big on Twitter in the first place. I actually just realized this is a 3-2. I really thought this was a 2-2. But I'm gonna go ahead and up this. I thought this was a 2-2. And that was my mistake. And I had even drafted it all of early access like it was a 2-2, because it felt like a 2-2. But yeah, card's fine as a 3-2, as a 2-2. We'll talk about it after this. The thing is, this first ability is not very prevalent. Like, there's not a lot of just 1/1s that you're throwing away on chump attacks. If there were, this would be better. Like, if you had more spare 1/1s, this would be better. But exiling 2 cards from a graveyard is relevant text. Like, you are interested in hitting graveyards. I would be more interested in sideboarding this. I think it's still a 3. Like, it's just a little more work than I'd like. I'm gonna go ahead and raise the difficulty. Oh, I'm sorry I had to reevaluate that one so much. But like, it's just fine. It's replaceable. When it's good, it's going to be really good, and it's because you're hitting relevant cards in the graveyard. Like, blue-black wants to hit 8 cards in the graveyard. Green-black wants all the permanents possible in the graveyard. Blue-black has a bunch of flashback, but like, it's not guaranteed. If your opponent is on that style of deck, go ahead and bring it in. Like, you want the dual text. If both modes are relevant, the card is good. But you need to put work into making the first mode relevant, meaning you either have low damage spells or small creatures that you're producing a lot of, and your opponent's deck needs to be the right deck to make the second line of text relevant, and that'll happen. All right, Reno and Rude, this card's just very good. Like, a 2-mana 2/1 menace with no additional text would be playable in this format. We talked a lot about how keywords are rare. You need your keyword abilities. There's not a lot of keyword abilities, and there's a lot of ways to make your creatures larger. You exile their card first, that's relevant. You don't have to sack anything unless you want to play that card. You can also play lands. Like, on turn 3, you can play another 2-drop attack, and then if you're like, I had somebody struggling to hit their blue source, and they stole my blue source. They sacked a 4-drop to play my island and won early access. Really cool card. Not having to sacrifice until you know what it is kind of huge. Yeah, this is a very strong one. This card is, so when I said Poison the Waters, sometimes you just gotta play it to kill a thing. That's what this is, the card I was thinking of, Wing Spear. Yeah, this one is Black's best 2-drop. I don't know if that includes the rares, but this is Black's best 2-drop out of the commons and uncommons for sure. Yeah, it's gonna be a 6 most of the time. That's assuming you have some number of things to sack. If you don't have free things to sack, it's still a 5. Like, you always have something to sack. It's just, is it something you are willing to sack or want to sack? Yeah, also, you can go turn 2 Reno and Root, turn 3 threaten something, attack with both, steal one of your opponent's cards permanently. Resentful Revelation. Card is fine. Like, the flashback is gravy. Things are pretty extreme if you're flashing it back, but really late in the game, you actually don't mind paying 7 mana to grab something real from the top 3, and they do go into your graveyard. So I think this is a 5 in green-black. I think this is a 4 in blue-black, and a 3 elsewhere. Yeah, so it averages out to a 3, but when you want it, you'll really want it. The thing about green-black is, like, even in green-black, this is a replacement level card because you have better options available. But if you have real bombs to dig for, then the card's pretty good. Not a lot to say about this one. 4 mana instant speed, kill a creature is pretty good. The 2 life is a nice bit of gravy. Yeah, like, this is a 22nd, 23rd card in any deck, and a reasonable card a great card in some decks. Yeah, this is just good removal. Don't worry about it too much. There is enough life gain synergies that I'll be happy to play this, and a lot of the higher control decks really value that extra 2 life. Like earlier, like the black-red decks that are paying life to draw cards, generate value, they value this gain 2 life kind of a lot. Incidental life gain is also something that you really want against like a black-red burn deck. Black mage, I'm calling black mage deck black-red burn, and this is really good against that. But yeah, it's not too much to say. It's a good removal spell. Love this card. So this is the card that in black that I had the highest grading difference on from other content creators. I don't know why they dislike it so much. This card is good. A 3-mana 3/3 that recurs. Yeah, it misses a turn of blocking, but it still hits. However, this is repeatable sack fodder, and you don't need to cast it to be good. Blue and red have so much looting, and there's good looting in the artifacts. I got to kill someone with 2 of the looter scooters. There's a 3-mana 3/2 common vehicle that nobody else seems to like. Whenever it attacks, you draw a card, discard a card. Like, I was just discarding this card then with the second, so I had 2 of them. I swung with both, discarded this, cast a spell with the second one on the stack, returned it to my hand, discarded this, cast another spell, returned it to my hand, and played it, and then use it to crew the Scooters the next turn. Like, there's so much draw discard available that without this ever hitting play, it's a lot of card advantage. Like, this is pretty trivial. We haven't had something. We haven't had, like, I think Avidia, the 4-mana 4/2, whenever you play an artifact, return it to your hand from Kaladesh, was the last time we had something that was this easy to pick up when you discard it. But there's like, I think there's 11 looters, 12 looters at common and uncommon alone, that looters and rummagers, that I am happy to play this in any of those decks. And so much of the, like, so blue-black doesn't really struggle, but red-black really struggles with card advantage. So building an engine that lets you have card advantage is so strong. And, like, you don't get a block if you play it on turn 3, but it's still a 3-mana 3/3 that blocks. Like, yeah, I love this card. I think it's a 4 if you're playing it as a normal creature. It's a 6 if you're looting, and it's a 5 otherwise. Black-white really wants this as sack fodder. It's great sack fodder. Blue-black and black-red both want this because of the looters, and even green-black is okay milling this and picking it up later. I just talked myself up on this. We're putting the ceiling up, but we're keeping the 5. Yeah, I think this card's very good in this format, especially because, like, a lot of the worst cards mill you a bunch. Shinra Reinforcements, I was playing this in the artifact deck and I regretted it. You don't run out of artifacts. Like, the 3 life is relevant and the mill 3 cards is relevant, but you want the mill 3 cards to be really good to make up for this being a 2/3 instead of a 3/3 because of how much the body sizes matter. But this felt great in green, black, and okay in blue, black, and really bad in black, white, where I thought it would be good. Like, it's got the bonus texts, it's got gain life, it's got mill cards, it's got typing artifact, and it's a human, which is relevant to some decks. But, like, all of that bonus text together was not as free as I wanted it to be. I'm gonna go ahead and keep this rating, but we're raising the difficulty up to high. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm making a lot of changes. A lot of this came from my notes from before early access, and I learned a lot during early access. And the purpose of this is our tier list on thegathering.gg. So if you want to keep up to date. Oh, this is not an artifact. Okay. So I absolutely treated this and picked this like it was an artifact for all of early access, Hika. I don't know why. Maybe it's the border. Okay, it never came up. But I did treat this like it was an artifact. Like, I put this into my artifact deck. We're just lucky it never came up. Yeah, so I do this for the tier list on thegathering.gg, and then I update it every week if you want to. It is a human, though. Thank you. I mean, I was confused because these aren't artifacts in the game. All right. Up next, this card is so good. It's okay. Side quest, Hunt the Meek. Mark. This is a good removal spell at 5 mana. 5 mana, kill a creature, make a treasure. That's good enough. The enchantment side doesn't matter so much, but you can set up a situation where, like, if this flips, it's busted. This card is so powerful once it flips, because it doesn't flip until you have 3 treasures, which means you have 3 indestructibility activations. And even if it took all your mana to get that last treasure, if you paid 4 mana for another kill spell, you still have 2 treasures to pay the cost, 1 treasure to sacrifice. Great sack outlet. There are really good ways to make treasures in addition to this, although it's not free. The card stacks really well. If you have 3 copies of it, then 1 kill gives you 3 treasures. And there are some random incidental treasures off commons, good ones. Like our Namazu Trader and our Rat, which we will talk about shortly. This card's very good. I should actually probably have it high. We're gonna go and raise the floor. I don't know if we raise the ceiling. We should raise the ceiling. A 5/6 is so big. Hey Tyrant, we're almost done with black, and then we just have red and we're done. It goes really well. This card's very good. This is one of the, like, so when I say you have to really think about which removal spells you take, Overkill versus side quest is going to come up a lot. In a vacuum, I think I like the side quest more, but if I'm like black, red, or blue, black, I'm probably taking the Overkill. This card's really good though. Like, it's just very powerful and it's solid removal. And I feel like that it's unfair how much better this is than the other side quests. This is the best side quest by 3 miles. All right, Summon Anima. I love this card. So like with sagas, you always kind of have to weigh what they are. What happens if your opponent kills it right away? What happens if your opponent waits it out? If your opponent waits this out, you're on +4 cards. They have sacrificed a creature and you've drawn 3 cards. You have paid 3 life, and the fact that this costs you 3 life to draw you 3 cards means you might have to block with it or attack and hope your opponent blocks. But that's a lot of card advantage. I know it's like 6 mana, draw 3 cards, lose 3 life, deal 4 damage, slash and or block. So if you're attacking, you don't care about the 3 life, and this attacks as a 4/4 menace twice. If you're the control player, if you're defensive, then you block with it. You leave it back, and you just are happy to draw 3 cards and make your opponent sacrifice a creature. This isn't as strong as it looks just because your opponent gets to prepare for it, but you also get to prepare for it, and you have 3 additional cards to work with. Good card, not free. Put some thought into how you're playing with it. But floor of 4, 5 average, ceiling of 7. It's usually going to be somewhere in between in terms of medium effort. Black does not have a lot of competition for 6 mana. So I think there's only one other 6-drop or even reasonably expensive spell that competes, and it does not measure up. It's your 4/4 land cycler. All right, Tonberry. Played with it, was not impressed. The bounce spells in this set are really good, and the fact is your opponent just doesn't care. Like, it's a 1 mana 2/1 that doesn't attack on turn 2, comes in tapped, unstuns, attacks on turn 3, and your opponent can just take the damage. It's solid in a dedicated aggro deck, but a dedicated aggro deck is not a free thing. It's fine in black-red because black-red wants that chip damage. It wants to get in, and it never blocks. Like, this is a 1 mana 2/1 that gets in, but I played against somebody who had 3 copies of this card, and I just kept bouncing it, and it felt very unfair. I bounced it once, and then I locked it down. I don't like it except in black-red. I think it's pretty good in black-red. But yeah, I don't like it in green-black. I don't like it in blue-black. I don't like it in white-black. I love it in black-red. Yeah, he's so cute. Look at that little cute stabby boy. Stabby salamander. This card's just good. Like, I kept trying to give it different ratings for being in red black or being in white black, but like, I just want it in all those decks. This is one of the better 2-drops. You're just happy if it dies. The treasure is good, ramp is good, rectangles are good. Like, in black white, I mean, I want to give it a higher rating for black white because black white wants the sack fodder, but like, black white doesn't want this more than any of the other places. It doesn't, like, it's just a good card. Like, black white does not want this more than red black or green black. Blue black, it's pretty average. Like, I'll play it as a 4 and I'll chump with it. And then red black just has more competition for 2-drops, but black white doesn't, and green black doesn't. Yeah, happy with the card. It's very good. Not a lot to say about it. Vane's Treachery. This is a 5 most of the time. Like, instant speed, kicker, sacrifice an artifact or creature is pretty trivial to pay, especially because your opponent is they're killing things. Like, you get to sack whatever they're killing or whatever would die in combat or whatever you chump blocked with to give something -6/-6, which incidentally kills 97% of the creatures in this format. Kills 97% of the creatures. All right. Yeah, I accidentally copied some of my globe slides before. That's just a holdover. Yeah, Vane's. I'll tell you in just a second. Yeah, Vane's Treachery is a good removal spell. Sometimes it's better than Overkill, but early game -2/-2 kills everything you needed to. Late game -6/-6 kills everything, and it's still a trick if they like. It's a combat trick if it's a 7/7. Vincent's Limit Break. So I had to read this one a few times. It's very poorly templated. It becomes this large, then comes back when it dies. This effect is only good when the enter the battlefield effects are really good, and they aren't. There's not a lot of good ETBs. All the good ETBs are in like the job select cards. But some of the rares and sagas, especially the rare sagas, have really good enter the battlefield effects. And this is a great card with sagas. That's not a free thing. I gave it a 2, ceiling of 6. Average of 3. If I have the ETBs, this card is good. I won't pick it until I have the ETBs. All right, yes. So we're between colors. So someone had the audacity to tell me that I didn't think Dragonstorm Globe was going to be good in Tarkir Dragonstorm. And the evidence that I was right is that I copied my slides over and deleted all the pictures, and I put Globe good on like 22 of the slides as a reason for that card being good. Yeah, Dragonstorm Globe was a good card because similar to this set, the density of creature toughness is really good. I need to drink some honey because I'm feeling it in my throat, and then we'll move on to red. I'll be right back. If anyone has any questions about black, go ahead and ask them while I'm gone. And I'll be right back. I need water. We're gonna run an ad while I get some water. Deep breaths. I forget to talk when I do this. All right, and then finally we're doing red and we're done. I love red. Red's real good in this format. I'm gonna drink some honey. Oh, sorry, I had to stop the music. Fox Cole is a dweeb. Look at him. There's no way he's not a dweeb. Pro tip: if you ever need to talk a lot or sing a lot without taking a break, drink honey. It's really good for your throat. Sugar works too, but honey has a lot of additional medicinal properties. Spoonful of honey. Every color is how I do it. All right, which one did we just talk about? Red, black, and red, green. So we'll do red, white, and red, blue first. We talked about them already, but I want people to be able to pick the color and get on it. I need my music back though. I can't do it without the music. Water. Anyone have any questions about black before we get started? Ooh. That's a really tough one. Black has some cool commons. I love the black uncommons. It might just... I think I gotta be boring and just say the removal spell. Vane's Treachery. It might be the Dire Rat. Dire Rat's really good. It's one of these two. The rat's really, like, the rat is weirdly more flexible. The problem with the Treachery is it's easier to replace. Like, it's a great removal spell with a lot of utility, but it's easier to replace Treachery with a worse removal spell than it is to replace Dire Rat with a worse common. So I think because of that, I gotta go with Dire Rat. All right, on to red. This is the last color, and then we're done. So, up first is blue-red big spells. So it cares about mana spent. You need to pay 4 or more mana on the spell, and it has to be a non-creature spell. So when you're drafting this, you need to take your payoffs first. Shantotto is one of the better ones. The payoffs are going to be the hardest thing to find, and if you're just firing 4 mana spells into the void that are underpowered, then you're going to lose. So payoffs first, then the spells themselves, ideally the good ones, the ones that trigger Shantotto's draw card. Then your card advantage. You don't need to take as much of this if you have Shantotto specifically. They don't all draw a whole card. Most of them do a smaller effect when you cast a spell. And then your win con. So when you're casting big spells, the win condition will just kind of happen, but you should still try and get there. Like if you're spending 8 mana on a spell to draw a card and Shantotto hits them for 8, it's gonna feel really good. But yeah, generally you need those 4 things first. And if you're just joining us for the red, you need more than that. These are just your top priorities. Figure out early on whether all of your spells are good or just the expensive ones. So there's a few red cards that trigger on every spell, but lots of them don't trigger at all unless it costs at least 4 mana, which means that you want to try and keep all your creatures underneath that, and you can do that while you're picking. So that feeds into what is your curve. So like you need your non-creature spells to line up with your curve pretty well. And what that inevitably means for blue-red is that your 1, 2, 3 mana creatures are the ones who care about having 4, 5, and 6 mana spells. And if you have, like, Shantotto is the best example of this. Like a 3 mana 0/4, and then you start playing 4 mana spells every turn after that. And the difference between this and like red-black, we should do red-black next. Figure out if you're killing, like if you are focusing on value or killing your opponent. And really that comes down to where your burn spells go. The difference between that and black-red is black-red wants more spells and they want the cheaper spells. And inevitably this means a few Grixis variants. Like you can be red-black-green or red-black with a little bit of blue or blue-black with a little bit of red. I had a really nice red-black deck splashing for Shantotto yesterday, 2 days ago. Time's weird. We just did this one, so you need your payoffs first, then your card advantage. You notice all the reds want payoffs, then your removal, then whatever random wizards you can find. There's a lot of just random replaceable wizards, but you need a lot of them, but they're all kind of interchangeable, so they mesh in with each other. Figure out if you're pinging your opponent's entire life total down, or if you're just using it to finish them off. And then you need, for black-red specifically, you need to figure out how much you care about the mana value of your non-creature spells being 4 or greater. Red has a lot of good ones, so you can do that in red and then decide whether you're black or blue after that. And then for black-red, you can be a full grind deck, or you can just focus on your, like you can focus on burning them out. You can be a burn deck. I love that like a non-aggro burn deck is available in this format. All right, red-white equipment. So you need your keyword creatures first, and they count as payoffs. You need payoffs in general. You might notice that all of the red archetypes want payoffs the most. So you need your payoffs first, then your keyword creatures, then you need job select. Job select is the kind of the most important thing for red-white. Like after something like Gyat, the payoffs for having lots of equipments, you need lots of equipments and you need to pick them really high. And I don't think you can be a red-white deck without them. The job select cards are good and you need kind of a lot. Then you need your cheap removals, like your cheap spells. So not necessarily cheap removal spells, just spells that cost not very much mana are very important, because you need to make sure you have things down early, including before the equipment. You need to make sure you have things down when you're equipping in the late game. This is not necessarily an aggro deck. Red-white equipment isn't necessarily an aggro deck because you get to make everybody relevant by moving the job select equipment around in the late game. Equipment are usually an inherently late game card type, but job select makes them early game and then also late game. So it ends up being more of a mid-range style deck, and you can even do it as more of a control deck, although you'll always be attacking to win. And you do that by making sure you're utilizing your equipment really well in the mid game and the late game. Then you need your removal. You don't need to take removal quite as high in red white because you can use equipment to make each of your creatures, any one of your creatures, better than any one of your opponent's creatures, and just keep powering it up. And then also combat tricks are actively great for red white. Red white gets to use combat tricks really well, and when you're attacking enough the way you're attacking with equipment, you get to treat your combat tricks like removal spells. Figure out early on how fast you are. Like, you can be an aggro deck, but you don't have to be an aggro deck. Yeah, one combat target is an equipment. It's really good. We'll talk about that very soon. Random task. Figure out how badly you need equipment. Like, I saw someone with a full equipment deck just keep an equipment in his hand. So do you need equipment to function? The answer isn't always yes, but it's often yes. And then figure out where your equipment is going. Like, who do you want to put your equipment on? Because powering up Giat means that you're, like, weirdly, it makes you a card advantage. Because if I have a 4/4 double strike, it's difficult and dangerous for my opponent to block a 4/4 double strike with 5 creatures. Like, it's too easy for me to blow them out with one removal spell or one combat trick. So the answer from my opponent's point of view isn't like gang block. It's just chump block until they can find a removal spell, or chump block until they can kill me in the air or elsewhere. So, like, know where your equipment is going during the draft. Finally, red green landfall Stompy. Abyss is a good card, Kelsey. It's true. 6 mana, 6/6. I love Gladiolus. All right, so red green landfall Stompy. You need your ramp spells first. They're just a little harder to find, and then your removal spells. Then you need blockers. You really need blockers for this, and then you need your fatties. Like, you'll need fatties. So, like, blue green ramp doesn't really need the fatties. It wants the fatties, but it can do well with just draw spells. Red green needs the fatties. Figure out why you need lands. Like, you don't necessarily need your lands to cast spells after 6 mana, but you'll probably still go get lands because there's a lot of good ways to use your mana. You can equip, there's some X spells, and you can just cast giant spells too. Figure out what the splash is, and because this is a great format for splashing, you just can't do it too early. And then figure out how you're surviving until you get to the point where Gladiolus is attacking, or any giant fatties attacking. All right, so you hear me say a lot, and I realize I've never actually explained this, but Kelsey already knows. When I say a large creature is a legitimate form of card advantage, that's because that large creature is the Abyss. If I'm attacking with an 8/8 every turn, my opponent can't take 8 damage every turn. So a protected 8/8 means that they're blocking every turn. They're just chump blocking, and they're sacrificing a creature every turn. That's the Abyss. That's what the Abyss does. So yeah, large creatures forcing chump blockers is the Abyss. Oh, it's not a good format for splashing. Oops. It's not a good format for splashing. This is a good archetype for splashing. Great question. Red green and blue green both splash really well because of how many things just make mana. Green especially has 4 cards that search up lands, 3 of which I'm happy to play in a non-ramp deck. Questions are always good. Barrett Wallace. So 4 mana 4/4 with reach is why this is a 5. All of this extra text of deals damage to number equipped, like, it's nice, but usually it'll just be a ping or 2. No, this is a good card because it is a 4 mana 4/4 with reach. This is a format where 4 mana 4/4s are good. This is a format where reach is great. 4 mana 4/4 with reach is what you want on a body. The floor of a 4 is just because 4s are like, in red green, this is competing with reach cards, and this is competing with 4/4s, 4 mana 4/4s. But, like, in every other color pair, this is a great card that you want actively. Red black especially, like, I know it doesn't look like it should work in red black, but you really need a blocker. The floor of a 4 mana 4/4 with reach is 4. You need to be able to stop flyers. Like, it's so difficult in this set. So in some sets, you don't care about flying because you can race them. It's really hard to actually race flyers in this set, unless you have, like, lifelingers. I can't. Not at this point. I like it. I think it's cool. Blazing Bomb. So last I checked, this is the red card where I have the biggest difference from other content creators. I think that tapping to deal 2 damage, like sacking of 1 drop to deal 2 damage, is still a good thing that you want to be doing in this format late into the game. So most people look at this and they say this is a great 1 drop, but it's bad if you draw in the late game. But you can play this on turn 5 with a 4 mana spell as a 2/2, and then your opponent, like, so many times I played this during early access and my opponent had to kill it because they had a rare or something valuable that they didn't want this to hit. And like, the nature of this format is that there are a lot of like random linchpins. Let's call them linchpins. There's a lot of linchpins that are still good late in the game, but small enough to die to this. And I'm happy that it's on a 1 drop. 1 mana is just solid. But yeah, I like this card. I think it's mostly a blue-red or red-black things. I don't think it's that high in effort because I'm just not that, like, I would play a 1 mana 1/1 sack to ping. There's lots of little things that make it work. Like, I'm assuming that this is a 1 mana 1/1 that I will eventually be able to grow in my deck. Your deck should be able to support this. Like, it's the floor of a 2 is that means that it never grows. It is sorcery sack, and that's annoying, but like, this kills enough of what it needs to kill that I'm pretty happy to play it most of the time. I should actually drop the ceiling though. I think it's closer to a 4 ceiling, and we're gonna make the effort a little lower. Like, this will make more sense once you see the other red non-creature spells also. Like Call the Mountain Chocobo. I love this card. This card's really good. This is one of those cards that looks bad on the surface, but it's a 4 mana 2/2 that guarantees an attack as a 3/2. And like you would play a 4 mana 2/2 draw card a reasonable amount of the time, and a 4 mana 3/2 draw card more than half the time. But the fact that it has flashback, yes. So this is just like, this is a card that synergizes with itself. So it's it triggers the 4 cost twice, and yes, it is 6 mana to flash it back, but it gets a land. It gets you we're assuming you have 4 mana when you cast this spell, so it gets you to 5 mana. So you'll be able to do it again on turn 6. So this spell is slow, but it is a 4 for 1. You get 4 relevant pieces for this 1 card, and it has high synergy with your birds, it has high synergy with your landfalls, it has high synergy with all of your mana value 4 non-creature spells, and it is 2 non-creature spells for your mages. Like, this would actually be a little bit lower if red-black. So this is both a format where that 7th land is valuable. Like, you will be using the 7th land in this format, and it's a like, it's got a lot of bonus text. Birds, lands, and flashbacks. It's bad to splash. Don't splash it. You need to be able to get mountains. And it's pretty weak in the equipment deck. This is a mana sink for decks that aren't dedicated equipment decks. So it's fine in the equipment deck, but I have it at 4 in equipment, 5 in red black and red, 5 in red black and red green, and a 6 in blue red. I think it's really good in blue red. I have this as my best red card. Let me just check. Nope, this is tied for best red card with 2 other cards. One thing you might notice on the red cards is it's mostly low effort and high effort. The red cards either go everywhere or go into 1 deck. Not a lot of the red cards go into 2 or 3 decks. I mean, it is Wing Spear. It is a contextual card. All right, this card is so good. Like, the fail case of this is a 2 mana 2/2 with landfall, or 3 mana 2 mana 2/2 kill a thing, or 4 mana 2/2 kill a thing, or 5 mana 2/2 kill a thing, or 8 mana 2/2 kill your opponent. Like, this is a format that, like, we started looking at spoilers. I'm like, oh, this wants an X damage spell so badly, and then I'm like, they're gonna give us a Rolling Thunder, something that only hits creatures. But no, just kill your opponent is something you'll get to do in this format. Hey Fina, welcome home. Yeah, any target does a lot of work, and like, you'll play a 4 mana 2/2 deal 2 to something. Yeah, it's very powerful. This is one of the best fireballs we've seen in a long time. But yeah, this is very powerful, especially like with all of the X spells. And there's a few cards that are like, whenever a there's an octopus. Whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, lock a creature down. 8 or greater, put 8++1 counters on it. Like, this is one of the few ways you have to spend 8 mana on a spell, and you will get 8 mana to spend on a spell. Very powerful. Up next, Coral Sword. This is a really good combat trick. Was there a Comet Storm in FF12? Yeah, this is a great combat trick. Like 1 mana +1/+0 or +1/+1 at first strike has always been close. It's always been just shy of there. And the fact that this is the best version of this trick we've had. +1/+0 in first strike, but it leaves it behind for only 1 mana, and you can equip it to other things. You can sack it to feed things. Having an equipment in play is relevant to a lot of bodies. And it's an artifact. Like, this just kind of does it all. There's not a lot to say about it. I think this is the best combat trick in the set. Yes, this is the best combat trick in the set. It's very good. Fire Magic. I love this one. So this is the best uncommon sweeper we've had in a long time. 1 mana, deal 1 to each creature is like, when it's relevant, it's going to be really good. Most often, you're going to pay 3 mana, deal 2 damage to each creature. It kills most 2 and 3 drops. And then 6 mana, deal 3 to each creature is powerful. But the being an instant lets you win target combat. Like, you gotta know about this card, okay? You have to be aware that this card exists, and you have to play around this. Like, if you're seeing really weird attacks, you gotta know that your opponent's about to deal 1 damage to everything or 2 damage to everything. I gave it a floor of 4, ceiling of 6, medium 5. Playing with this card is going to be more about building your deck than anything else. You want to build creatures that survive it. You can build a deck with 3 copies of this, and then just play all of the like all the creatures that have large toughness. You can also, this card lets you play a very low creature count deck if you want. So yes, but the thing is, Theo, so let's talk about that. So Theo says the problem with this card is that you wipe the board, there's still equipment left over. The problem with control, a problem with control in this format, is that control without a way to end the game on board can never have enough removal for everything, because equipment mean that every single creature that hits the board on your opponent's side of the field the whole game is a threat. Like, if your opponent has 2 equipment in play that both give +2/+2, even if it costs 5 mana to equip those cards, every creature on your opponent's board is a 5/5 or larger. That means you'll never be able to kill them all. So what Fire Magic does is let your removal start to do work. So if I'm a control deck playing Fire Magic, I get to wipe the board, and then every single spell I play after that, like, you're gonna have to target 1/1s with your actual removal spells if you're a control deck. So Fire Magic helps minimize that cost. Like, I don't think you can be you can be a control deck, but you have to be able to kill them. But you can't be a real control deck without sweepers in this format, or good ways to deal with equipment. Ooh, this one's cool. First of all, 1 mana legendary creature is kind of awesome. Financial MTG tips, but I'm not a finance advisor, disclaimer. I should have invested in Bard class, and it's not too late to invest in Bard class. This card's very good. 1/1 flyer, great on offense. I did not count this with the other flyers because it only attacks with flying, but this is a mana dork that is very good. There's so many good 3 mana equipments, ramping with whole turn on those, very powerful. Like, it's best in the equipped deck. This is a 6 in the equipped deck, but any deck can play equipment, so I gave it a 5 floor, and it's usually gonna be closer to a 6. This is a really good card. Haste Magic, love this card. This is not a card you can cram into any deck. This is a card with pocket synergies. So if your curve is very low, which you can keep your whole curve at 3 mana or less because of the way equipment works, you'll still have things to do in the late game and be a mid-range deck with all mana value 3 or less creatures. And Haste Magic, like this, if this is always drawing, if this was 2 mana +3/+1 haste draw card, it would be a 5. It would always be great. Haste is worth a card sometimes because so many of the sagas get so much value out of 1 additional attack. So this is not a card that works in any specific archetype or deck. It just has individual synergies with your deck potentially. So they're like, if you can, giving haste is really hard in this set. There's no equipment that gives, there's 1 equipment that gives haste for 5 mana, but Like giving Garnet haste is a really valuable thing. Giving a Saga creature haste is a valuable thing. Yeah. Like haste magic can be local or big. I feel like it could be big. But this is a card with pocket synergies. You need to find the specific synergies. It's not an archetypal card. Hilgigus. Yeah, this one's just kind of homeless. I feel bad about it. Like 6 mana 5/4 trample haste is really good stat line. The fact is you're not going to be like, this is worse than any of the job select cards. You'd rather just put mana into it on another creature. And the actual finishers are like this that scales really well. But you're not always gonna have them. If you don't have other finishers, go ahead and play the Hilgigus. I'm okay putting it in. Like, you don't have time to mountain cycle this in pretty much any of the red decks. So you only want it when you want a 5/4 trample haste for 6 mana, which some decks do, but most decks don't. So I gave it a 3 floor of a 3, media or ceiling of 5, medium effort. Item shopkeep. This is too much work. I feel like it's like it doesn't have menace. This creature doesn't have menace. I'm sorry, Kelsey, I shouldn't say there's no time for cycling. There's no time for cycling when you need the mountain. If you need the mountain, you won't have time to cycle it. Yeah, like, this is, if you are giving a creature menace, they're just blocking this. Like, it's a 2 mana 2/2. Sometimes you need a 2 mana 2/2. The menace is gravy, and you can like, if it had menace, it would be really good. If this were an 0/2 that had menace. Look at my reading comprehension. Thank you, J1. Okay, that's better than I thought. It doesn't need to attack to give menace. I thought it had to attack to give menace. You are all right. Thank you for being here. Okay, this is a lot better than I thought. And we're gonna go ahead and bump it. I don't know. I don't think it's necessary. Conti, thank you so much for the follow. I don't know if this is necessary still. Like, you just would rather have any of the, like, you'll play this, right, in the equip deck, but you'd rather have literally any of the 2 mana job selects. Yeah, like, it's solid. It just doesn't have, right, it doesn't have a home. Like, the equipment decks, the 2 mana equipment are really good. Like, I take a white mage's staff over this, and not a lot of other decks want that. Sure thing, Kelsey. I do upload these to YouTube. If you want to join the Discord, I post them there and keep the I keep everything posted there, and I can't type today. I used up all my brain already. Yeah, but they're all up on YouTube, and I post them to Blue Sky as well. I figured it out, J1. Laughing Mad. This is a cool card. This is not a good card, but it is a cool card. You have to have things you actively want to discard, so that pretty much restricts it to just blue red and then some like Grixis builds. One thing to note is that, like, so you get to pay 4 mana in for the second ability. You 3 mana discard a card, draw 2, and then 4 mana discard card, draw 2. You do net 1 whole card on this because of the flashback, but overall you're not interested in playing this unless you have cards you actively want to discard. There are reanimation ability, like, there are cards that want to be in the graveyard. It combos with black cards. So I'll play this if I have enough of the Seath, the 3 mana 3/3 that comes back. And I'll play this if I have enough cards like Shantoto, but not enough spells. Ultimately, I'm not going to play this very often. Yeah, it's not great. You have to want to discard things actively. Okay, I came up on this because there's just so many equipment that you really want to kill. Killing your opponent's 1/1 always feels awful, and killing your opponent's equipment leaves a 1/1 behind, and if they have the equipment, they can move it. Actually getting to deal with an equipment is good. So we see these like derpy 5 mana, deal 6, deal 5, like big mana, kill big thing all the time. Usually they're pretty bad. I'm actually gonna play the first copy of this pretty often, both because it's mana value 5 and things have synergies. And the decks that want this card really struggle with a lot of the equipment packages. Getting to kill the token, the hero, and the equipment at the same time is excellent. I'm not gonna play a lot of them, but like when you need to kill an equipment, this is a good one. All right, Mycelian Elder, great in red black because this is 2 wizards. You get 2 wizards for the price of 1, and this is actually solid in equipment because it's 2 bodies. Getting 2 bodies to put equipment on is nice, and the pings are nice. But I don't really want it outside of those. Like, I don't care about it in red blue. I don't care about it at all. I'd never want this in red green. I think this is great in red black. So it's a 5 in red black, a 4 in red white, a 3 in red green, and red blue. It's 2 wizards. 2 wizards. All right, Opera Love Song. So I came up on this one too. There's just not that many combat tricks, and they're pretty good. You want keyword abilities to go with it, but the equipment deck has a lot of keyword abilities, and you can play this on your opponent's end step. So you have until your next end step. So if you play it on your opponent's end step, you're a little more likely to get a 2 for 1. Solid combat trick, card advantage package, not great at either. Yeah, it's not great at either of the tricks, at either modes, but the combination makes it at least playable. I'm not excited about it, but it's fine. Prompto Argentum. We talked a lot about the value. Me neither, J1. We talked a lot about the value of a treasure. Treasures are good. 2 mana 2/2 with haste would be good enough in this format. 2 mana 2/2 with haste. That makes treasures later on is worth it. You don't have to make a treasure for this to be good early. You do late. But if it starts making treasures on turn 4, you're happy. I gave it a 5, floor of 3, ceiling of 6. Wait, floor of 4. Yeah, that's right. Cool card, legendary, human scout, solid. Queen Brawn. So this one overperformed a bit. Yes, it has 1 toughness, and that's a bit of a liability, but it's only a liability until your opponent has any mana available. I gave it a 6, ceiling of 6. I might need to come down a bit, but there's just so few things that make a wizard more than once that you gotta really value the ones that do. Well, so it's a 6 in red black, but like making a token on attack is so good. And there's a lot of there's micro synergies in every color. So I gave it a 6, ceiling of 6. This one we're gonna go ahead and give this one a revisit because I need to experience it more. I haven't gotten to play with it. I've only gotten to play against it. And against it, it was always something that I killed. It always drew a removal spell, but I had to kill it, and it's just a 2/1. LSV drafted this deck. It did not work. He cast it 5 times and died. That's all that I've seen of it. He cast 2 copies of it flat out. He milled a 3rd, and it's not really playable. Like, I would love to see someone win a game with it, and I'm sure it'll happen, but it's such a high cost build around. Like, I think it can work with enough rare creatures, but 6 mana to get no real value is not good. If you have enough creatures that generate value or kill a thing when they come into play, I could see it working. And there might be a Jund Graveyard deck with it to make the mill valuable, but yeah, not really good. 2 mana 1/1 bad. 2 mana 1/1 that grows. You can make it work, but it's gonna be some work. You gotta put the effort in. It's solid in equipment. It's solid in the aggressive versions of equipment. If you're a very aggressive equipment aggro deck, this is a good card. But the more controlling or mid-range versions of equipment don't want this. And you want it with evasion. If you have some evasion, it's pretty good. Every non-creature spell dealing 2 damage is nice, but it's difficult to make work. I gave it a 3, floor of 2, ceiling of 5. Sabotender. 2 mana 2/1 reach, pings, not a lot to say about it. It's a 2-drop that does some damage, and it's not an unreasonable blocker. You would rather have lots of 2-drops, but this is one of the medium ones. All right, tied for best uncommon, Samurai's Katana. So there's a lot of job select. Hang on, let's do a quick check. Not that one. Where'd my... I don't know where my Skyfall search went. There it is. Yes. So if we do Oracle job. So there are 16 cards with job select. Out of all of them, one of them gives haste and one of them gives trample, and both of them are Samurai's Katana. So your floor is a 3 mana 3/3 trample and haste. That's great. That's a 3 mana 3/3 trample and haste that has 2 pieces, 2 bodies. There's lots of ways to cheat the equipment onto things, or just have 5 extra mana. And like, haste and trample are both really valuable keyword abilities in this format. This gives both. This is the best job select card, including a lot of the rares, including all the rares I've seen. But yeah, this is like, if you first pick this is how you get into equipment or an artifacts deck. Just very powerful. Every red deck will play it. Equipment is their best card. Sandworm. I love this one. 5 mana, 5/4 with haste is like a good enough attacker, but you either get to cripple your opponent's lands or trigger your own landfall a second time. So like, if you're attacking with a pile of chocobos, then playing a land and sandworming means they're attacking as 4/2s. That's really hard to block. And if your opponent there's a lot of big towns, so it being able to destroy your opponent's important towns or mess with their colors is valuable. Equip 5 is a lot, but usually you're cheating on the equip cost. You're using the 4 mana 2/2 draw card that pays 1 to equip, or one of the red creatures that equips for free. Like, it also means that you can play a 1-drop late into the game and have it be relevant. And this is after a 3 mana 3/3 trample haste. Love this card. So this is a red sack owlet. And it's any target. It's a little risky, but high risk, high reward. I gave it a 5, floor of 3, ceiling of 7. It's all about what you have to sack, and it's also a reasonable finisher, but there's 2 active treason effects that are very strong, and this is an instant. So your success case is being able to kill your opponent with this in a large creature. Your fail case is blocking or dodging a removal spell by killing something else. And it's a lot like Vicious Offering. It has the same rating as Vicious Offering. It just has a lower floor and a higher ceiling because it can hit your opponent, but also be blown out. You don't sack as the cost. So if your opponent kills in response, you don't get to have the thing. Yeah, and it just is removal sometimes. It's a really good red-white win condition. All right, side quest, play Blitzball. This card's really bad. So like, 3 mana, give a creature +2/+0 every turn, has a place, but that place is filled by equipment everywhere in this set. 6 damage in 1 turn, that's a high ask. If you're dealing 6 damage in 1 turn, they're likely just gonna die soon. And when you flip it, you don't get to use it that turn. Like, you give a creature double strike, but it's after combat. It's after you attack. So you don't get to actually use the equipment until next turn. So like, for how much work it is to finish this side quest, the reward, it doesn't feel great. It's legendary too. You can't even double flip your Blitzballs. If you're a side quest Blitzball deck with 3 Blitzballs, it's mandatory. You flip all 3 and 2 of them die. That's upsetting. All right, yeah. Bad card. Try to avoid playing it. If you have a ton of flyers or a ton of lifelingers and no equipment, go for it. This is a cool one. Sorcerer's Schemes. So you pick up an instant or sorcery or flashback spell, which is always an instant or sorcery, and it has flashback. It loops with itself, so it creates infinite card advantage with itself because you cast Sorcerer's Schemes, pick one up, flash it back, pick another one up, cast a second copy, pick up this one, and then flashback that copy. So it's an 18 mana loop that generates 3 instants and sorceries every loop. But it refunds 4 of the mana, so it's a 14 mana loop. So this card is not about the deck it fits in, it's all about specifics. It's what you can pick up. So like, you need to be able to pick up cheap removal spell, giant killer spell for this card to be good. But that's doable. That's not an impossible thing. I gave it a floor of a 2, ceiling of 6, and then an average of 3. But this is a high ever card. Like, it is a way to keep shrinking your mana value for spells over and over again. A way to generate card advantage, but it doesn't do any of them quite well enough without help. It's a build around. It's a cool build around too. All right, summon Esperama. Compared to the other summons, this one has to do the thing. So it deals damage to a number of non-creature, non-land cards. That's not a free kill on anything. Like, that's a deck building thing. Like, this one itself is not a non-creature, non-land, but it does kill anything, which is really nice. like if it kills anything, it's a good card. See, that depends on the deck. If the answer to that's a really good question. Task says, what question do you imagine playing it? Like, in a control deck, yes. Turn 5, 6, 7, I'm playing spells leading up to it. In like a deck with some self-mill, maybe like I'll play this in like maybe a red-green deck with some equipment. Or a red-white deck. No, not really. Like, it depends on what else I'm doing. We're gonna talk about the next summon. So like Ifrit, GF Ifrit makes this card a lot better. Because if it's dealing 3 damage, I'm happy. But if it's dealing less than 3 damage, this card is not good. Because pumping your wizards is like pretty average, and it only attacks once. It has to be a good kill spell. But I like the GF Ifrit. So you want ways to deal with 4/4s while you're running it. And this is just like, so it sticks around for a while. Like, the extra chapter matters a lot. The rummage is really good. Rummaging is great in this set. It feeds your graveyard of synergies. There's good things to rummage and cards you want in the graveyard. And then the mana is relevant. Like, refunding a couple mana matters. Cool card, nothing too crazy. It attacks well. This is one you're probably okay trading off. Like, you're okay playing a 3-mana 3/2, rummaging a card, and then trading with a 2/2. Suplex. So, not being an instant hurts, I know, but exiling the creature is relevant text, and I think exiling an artifact is a nice trade-off. Being able to hit the equipment is a relevant thing against so many of the job selects. And there's a lot of bigger artifacts too. So Aura Sight is 4 mana for an artifact. It's like an Oblivion Ring and exile something until it leaves. Being able to hit that with your red spell is really valuable and important. This is also the only shatter in this set. So keep an eye on Suplex. It's a good card. It's a great removal spell. The only problem with how good it's not the best common because Thunder Magic is here. I have Thunder Magic is the best common overall and the best red common. If it's 1 mana, deal 2 damage, that kills 45% of the creatures in the set. 4 mana, deal 4 damage, that kills 88% of the creatures in the set. And then 7 mana, 8 damage, kills 100% of the creatures in the set. So you're not going to 7 mana very often unless you really have to, but like, this is a good splashable card. I'll play it every time I'm red, and it just does what you need it to do. Like, the blue-red deck, for instance, really respects. So I think Suplex is a card red-black wants the most, and I think that blue-red will be taking Thunder Magic first pick because they want the spell that keeps them alive in the early game, takes out some small creatures, but still triggers their mana value for effects later. Like, Burst Lightning would be better, but in this set specifically, but this is Burst Lightning with, it doesn't hit players, but you can deal 8 damage when you have to. It's very good. Yeah, you're gonna have to fight for your red removal spells, but there's a lot of red removal spells. All right, here's the threaten of the set. This is package dependent. You really want to steal and sack. Attaching an equipment is not nothing. Okay, like, you should expect attaching equipment in the right deck to be 2 extra damage on average. There's also a ton of good sack outlets, including that don't cost a lot of mana, and then including in red. So normally steal and sack, I would say this is an honorary black-red card, like it's specifically for Rakdos. But the fact that you can play this and sack the creature to kill something in red alone is great. This card's very strong. It just requires help. I should probably be raising this effort. We're keeping the scores, but I am raising the effort a bit because you need specific cards. Like, you need to either be very aggressive or you need to have the sack outlets. All right, and finally, Warrior Sword. This is a 4 mana 4/3 that is not a creature, and this is a real buff. +3/+2 is for 5 mana is actually kind of worth it. And there's some very good cards to combos with, pretty low effort. Like, this is something you want for equipment and artifacts and blue-red. You want it a lot less for black-red or for green-red, but cool card. I like that they made it. All right, that is going to do it for the set review today. I'm stopping the recording here. If you want to hear about this riddle, I'll pull it up and we'll talk about it. I have about 5 minutes, but you'll have to come ask me about it on the stream if you're watching this on YouTube. Thank you all so much for watching.